It is 6 o'clock on Monday, July 13th, and we will begin the Board of Commissioner meeting. Would you please rise for invocation and pledge?
This comes from the Congressional Chaplain, Reverend Dr. Sutherland, on January 7th, 1862, who gave the following to the 37th Congress. O thou that seest from thy throne all the inhabitants of the earth, by whose favor the nations flourish, as by thy frown they fall, we pray thee for succor in this time of need, as our fathers prayed before us. Give us the foresight and the discretion of thy wisdom, that we may know what to do and wherewithal to perform it. Imbue the whole heart of the nation with a religious faith, so that none among us may profane in any wise before thee. Fill us with the solemn spirit and the awful majesty of this crisis. Let every man forbear levity, that there be no trifling Nero in the midst of burning Rome, that each may be vitally in earnest, bearing his life in his hand and moving gravely, as a living sacrifice upon the altar of God and of country, of freedom and of religion. O thou sovereign of our hope, prepare thy servants and the whole people to vindicate them thy sacred cause, thine honor and thy name in the sight of all the generations. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm glad you're all here. There are at least two more seats here there are two seats that I'm looking at here in the front right to me, if anyone needs a seat. And there's also some speckled seats in the first few rows for individuals. So you're welcome to come forward if you'd like to. We have our agendas in front of us. I do have some suggested changes to the agenda. I'd like to remove item 2O from the consent agenda, and we will discuss it as soon as we voted on the consent agenda. And add on, if you will, on the agenda, the acceptance of the jail van, which you should have some paperwork in front of you for that.
Madam Chair.
Let me clarify that a little bit more, please. It's the acceptance of the jail van insert donation. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move items 8A to after item 3, recognitions. This is the Trillium Health Resources annual presentation. The Vice President Piers is traveling from Wilmington, and we have a very long and busy schedule tonight.
Okay. All right, and I would also like to, for the sake of the public, move public comment up toward the beginning also, just so that everybody has the chance to share their thoughts before we get into business. Although, having said that, you are all welcome to stay, but you may want to watch it on video at your own leisure later. So we have a motion for, if I could have a motion for all four of those, removing item 2O, add on the acceptance of the jail van insert donation.
Does the jail van have a numerical coding?
$24,900.
No,
Yes,
I'm sorry.
It's
Like, does it have-
consent item 2AK.
Madam Chair,
Okay,
move to
thank you.
approve. I'm
Yep.
sorry.
No, you're good.
Madam Chair, move to approve the agenda as amended.
And you would like to place, sorry, Commissioner Smith, you want to place
Item A
item
after
4 to,
item 8A to item 3, after item 3, recognition. followed by public comments.
Followed by, yes, item 5, or 6.
And 2O, you want to pull to discuss or pull period?
Poll to vote.
Pull to vote, okay. So just want to make sure following item 2O, pulled to old business, new business.
We're going to vote on it right immediately after the consent agenda, just we have someone on that. Oh,
All right,
thank you.
just want to make sure. And then 8A, move to consent agenda.
No, 8A would follow recognitions, and that is the presentation
Okay.
in Trillium.
All right,
Have a
I
motion?
was just gonna say the clerk might want it.
I'm more doing it for the clerk.
We've got it.
I think we have.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So you have a motion, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right. So we have our, and I have a motion to approve the agenda. We just,
So moved.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Move to approve the consent agenda, Madam Chair.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so now we can look at 2O. Thank you.
If I'll do that one briefly. If we can, before we take a vote to approve, if we can make, someone wants to make a motion to recuse Commissioner Lovick from this vote for potential conflict of interest.
Motion to recuse Commissioner Lovick.
So made.
Any opposed? All those in favor? Sorry.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And then if you want to approve that agenda item.
All right, so,
A motion to approve, can I still call it 2O?
yes.
Okay. Motion to approve 2O.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any more donations?
I think we are done with the order. All right, do we have any recognitions from the board? We do not have any recognitions, then we will move into item 8A, the Trillium presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you so much for having me in. I appreciate it. I come before you all every year to make sure that you have an update from Trillium around the services and supports that we offer through the various Medicaid plans that we cover. So by way of introduction, I'm Cecilia Piers. I am the Regional Vice President for Trillium's Southern Region. Our southern region consists of Lee and 8 other counties. Trillium serves 46 counties throughout eastern and central North Carolina. And you'll hear a little bit more, and I will try to keep it brief tonight because I know your agenda is full. So just a quick review. Trillium's mission is transforming lives and building community well-being through partnerships and proven solutions. So as your local public health plan, we consider ourselves a partner with Lee County and all of the counties we serve in making sure that the members that we're serving in Lee County have access to the right services at the right time, working with various departments where our members are crossing over with services and supports that they need throughout the community. We have staff that are living and working here in Lee County and throughout our catchment area. As a health plan, we do not directly provide services, but we do cover care. And so our members receive services through a broad network of over 2,000 providers throughout our catchment area. So as you can see, the area in green is Trillium's catchment area, 46 counties. The total population throughout our catchment area is around 3.1 million. We have a couple different health plans that we cover, and you'll hear about that a little bit more. 92,000 of our members receive whole person care, so they receive physical and behavioral health care through our plan. A little over 200,000 receive just behavioral health care services. That's through our Medicaid Direct plan. And we continue to serve around 17,000 uninsured individuals. These are last fiscal year numbers. With some of the changes with the Affordable Care Act, that is actually up to around 27,000 individuals who have requested behavioral health services through our state-funded plan because they are uninsured. So we have divided our catchment area up into 5 regions. That is so that we can focus our efforts on smaller areas and really get to know the needs of the county and support our members and be involved in the activities that impact physical and behavioral health in all of our counties. We also want to have local governance. So we have 5 regional advisory boards with a county commissioner appointee and a non-commissioner appointee with certain expertise from each county serving on that regional advisory board. We also have consumer and family advisory committees in each region. So each region is represented by individuals either with lived experience receiving Medicaid services or represented by a caregiver who has supported someone receiving services through our plan. Both of those advisory groups then appoint people up to our governing board, the board that makes decisions about our finances, about our operations. And so there's feedback up to the governing board and feedback from governing board members representing each region back to that regional advisory board and consumer and family advisory committee. So we want to make sure that there's conversations coming right up from the county to our advisory board and governing board levels and back down again, so that there's transparency and there's input that you all have as counties into what services are being delivered here. You also have a regional vice president, that's myself. And I am available as your direct point of contact at any point if you have questions, if members of the community come to you with needs or concerns, happy to answer those and make sure that those are directed to the right points of contact within our organization. That's really what it's all about. To be a partner is to make sure that when we're needed, we are providing answers, we're providing information, and we're getting folks connected to care. We also have community liaisons. Yaniris Ramos is our newest community liaison serving Lee County, as well as a couple other counties. And she is involved in meetings and events here in Lee County as well. So if there's anything that we need to be involved in terms of a community collaborative group or an event to have mental health services, behavioral health services represented, we're happy to do that. Either her or I am happy to cover those things to make sure that we're out in the community. And that really speaks to that active stakeholder engagement. So attending meetings and also just being involved with other community-based organizations and nonprofits where our members are seeking other supports. And so speaking directly to our advisory board members, I really appreciate, especially over the years since consolidation, the support that Commissioner Smith has provided. Very, very committed to attending our regional board meetings in person whenever possible, and also working with us on various initiatives such as the rollout of a new mobile crisis provider. And then you've appointed Walter Ferguson as well. So he's serving on our regional board and also on the governing board. We are currently recruiting members from all disability groups for our Consumer and Family Advisory Committee to represent Lee County. So if there are any caregivers or members directly that you know of who are receiving services or have experience receiving services, we are happy to invite them to that Consumer and Family Advisory Committee meeting so that they can represent our membership. And then there's contact information for myself and Janeris if you have any questions for us. We are always available. So one of the things that people don't necessarily realize about Trillium is that we actually operate and cover 4 different health plans. So in order to help members distinguish between the plans and understand a little bit better which plan they're under and what benefits are connected to that plan, we have named them to make it just a little bit easier to navigate. We know healthcare is challenging to navigate on a good day. So Trillium Whole Health is our tailored plan. That's the plan that covers physical health services, behavioral health services. It covers transportation, pharmacy benefits, and long-term services and supports. Trillium Direct is our Medicaid Direct plan, so it's for individuals who are carved out of managed care, but still need those intensive behavioral health services that we cover, those enhanced services that other plans aren't able to offer through Medicaid. And so we cover the behavioral health side of things. Traditionally, those folks are individuals who have Medicare coverage and need intensive behavioral health services. Trillium Access is our state-funded plan. That plan is available to cover basic behavioral health services and some enhanced services for people who are uninsured or underinsured. That plan is one of our most underfunded plans. It has not received any additional funding in the past at least 10 years. So if you think about the growth of needs in the behavioral health arena, the funding from the state has not increased to meet those needs, but we do our best to make sure that when someone has a need, they are covered with that state-funded health plan. And then Thrive Local is a little bit different. It's not a traditional plan where someone enrolls or is eligible. It is our local community plan. So that's really the partnership, Lee County's investment in behavioral health services, as well as Trillium's investment in Lee County, providing supports and resources to enhance behavioral health access and awareness. So just a couple of things that have happened with Medicaid over the last fiscal year. The last phase of Medicaid transformation was the start of the Child and Family Specialty Plan on December 1st of 2025. That plan is known as the statewide foster care plan. Essentially, any child who is enrolled in foster care or a child who has aged out of foster care but is still being supported by DSS will be covered under that statewide foster care plan under Healthy Blue Care Together. So Trillium, when that plan went live, Trillium transitioned around 17,000 children and young adults over to that statewide foster care plan. Additionally, Trillium has made some enhancements in our crisis care continuum. Of note, in Lee County, we brought on Southeastern Integrated Care to be the mobile crisis management provider. For those who aren't familiar with mobile crisis, it is an insurance-blind service where if someone is experiencing any sort of behavioral health crisis, mental health, substance use, developmental disabilities, if someone has a struggle with their symptoms, they have become unmanageable with the skills and resources that they have on hand, they can call a mobile crisis team. They will get a quick assessment over the phone, and that team will respond in person. We brought on Southeastern Integrated Care, who has a local approach, so they have a team in each county that they cover, so that the response time is reduced and they can help support law enforcement and first responders As soon as they assess that a scene is safe or that a person is medically able to be on their own, mobile crisis can then provide that behavioral health support, freeing up your county resources and providing targeted interventions around that behavioral health need. So they continue to get to know folks out in the community, and I would encourage any community member, any organization who has someone in front of them experiencing a behavioral health crisis to utilize mobile crisis so that we reduce the drain on systems that aren't really prepared or designed to handle behavioral health crises. We also expanded reentry care management. So we have our stabilization, treatment, and reentry team. That team provides care management for people who have serious and persistent mental illness and who are leaving either jail or prison, coming back into the community and needing transitional support to connect to behavioral health crisis service and ongoing care. So previously, that team was just serving folks in prison. Now they are able to work with jail staff as well to start working with people up to 90 days before release, and then during that time into release in the community and help with stabilization. So just to go over some data from the last fiscal year, in terms of overall Medicaid health plan coverage, Trillium covered around 30% of the Medicaid population throughout our catchment area. Standard plans, which cover basic behavioral health services and not the enhanced services that we cover through our plan, they covered around 70% of the Medicaid population in our catchment area, with the largest plan being Healthy Blue. In Lee County last year, Trillium was assigned around 27% of the Medicaid population to our plan. Around slightly under 1,500 individuals were assigned to our tailored plan. That's our whole person health plan. And then a little over 3,600 were assigned to our Medicaid Direct plan, so eligible for enhanced behavioral health services through us, getting physical health services through Medicare or another plan. And then again, the remainder of the individuals were served under the standard plans. And actually here in Lee County, WellCare was the largest in terms of coverage for individuals receiving Medicaid on a standard plan. Last fiscal year, we had a little less than 104,000 Trillium members who received services under our plan. So some people are assigned to us, but don't necessarily, particularly with a Medicaid Direct or Trillium Direct plan, they may be assigned to our plan, but not necessarily needing a service through us. So of individuals who received a service through a paid claim, we served a little under 104,000 individuals. Around 63% were individuals needing primary mental health services, 21% needing substance use treatment, and 16% individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And the total spent from claims on those services was a little over $1.7 billion last year. That budget has significantly increased since we became a tailored plan, primarily due to coverage of the physical health services and coverage of pharmacy benefits as well. And then in Lee County, in fiscal year 25, we served a little over 1,500 individuals. There is some overlap in the numbers between mental health, intellectual and developmental disabilities, and substance use because people are dually diagnosed, but that 1,588 number is an unduplicated number. And again, around 60, a little less than 60% were served for mental health services, 20% for IDD, and 21% for substance use. And so some of the exciting things that we have been working on over the last year, really this speaks to the the Thrive Local Plan, that local community health plan, and reinvesting into our communities and members. We participated through funding to open a community opportunity center in partnership with LifeSprings Dream Center. So this is the picture up here, shows the opening of the LifeSprings Restoration Center in downtown Sanford. And through that center, we have supported increased access to behavioral health services, a digital literacy lab, and also a podcast station, so that people can kind of share their voice and their experience. We continue to invest in digital health supports, so not to replace staff, but we know with workforce shortages, there's an increased demand on the staff that are working in this field, and so we want to enhance the support that they are able to provide with digital tools. So our Trillium Ultimate Living Assistant is a tablet-based technology that helps with independent living skills and chronic condition management in the home. The Attend Behavior app is to support parents of children who have ADHD, autism, and intellectual and developmental disabilities with strategies and tools around managing behavior. Chess Health is assisting individuals with substance use to manage their recovery plan, provide on-demand peer support, access to meetings, and recovery support information. And then the Somethings app was launched through North Carolina DHHS to support children and young people who need peer services around some of their behavioral health needs. We know kids are struggling with behavioral health needs, struggling to get access, and so they can utilize the Somethings app for peer support. And we continue to provide community education and awareness through the crisis intervention team trainings for first responders. We're also partnering with you all to host a post-disaster simulation on September 30th. So that's a simulation of some of the circumstances people will end up with if there is some sort of natural or man-made disaster. It shows the different resources that people might have to navigate and some of the challenges around that and the needs for our resources and our systems to work together and be responsive to individual needs in order to help people recover from disaster. We have a couple different simulations like that, reentry simulations and a simulation around supporting children early when they're diagnosed with a disability. And last but not least, just making sure that people know how to get a hold of us. So for individuals seeking regular information around benefits and services, they can call our member and recipient line. That's the 877 number. If someone is experiencing a behavioral health crisis, whether they are a Trillium member or not, they can call our behavioral health crisis line. It is staffed 24/7, 365 with clinicians that will assess, triage a situation. They can dispatch mobile crisis to an individual who's struggling. They can also connect people to care over the phone, check on bed availability, and so on. So I would encourage folks to use those numbers, as well as 988, which is our national suicide prevention and behavioral health crisis line. And then our website just has a ton of information, and we have a monthly newsletter talking about some of these initiatives that we have going on throughout the year. And that is all I have. It's a lot, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Sure.
Questions from the board?
I would just say why you have a captive audience here is, why is Trillium working in Lee County?
So in state statute, we have local management entities and managed care organizations, which are essentially a unit of government in North Carolina. We have been tasked with serving people who have the most significant mental health, substance use, and developmental disability needs, and having the governance structure that I described earlier in a way that the standard Medicaid or commercial Medicaid plans don't have. Because we serve those individuals with the highest need, We are really meant to be a local plan embedded in communities to try to break down some of the barriers for people who have the hardest time accessing services. And so that's why we're here. That's why we are present in all of our 46 counties.
Perfect, thank you.
Great question.
And so I guess you touched on it a little bit. So who would you say is the target audience that is able to capture Trillium's best use of services? And then how much would it cost?
So when someone applies for Medicaid, they are assigned either to a standard plan or to Trillium or one of the 3 other tailored plans. They will be assigned to us when they have an enhanced service need that is not met by one of those standard plans.
Perfect.
So the cost is nothing to them because they have an income level that qualifies for Medicaid, or they may have an intellectual or developmental disability need that qualifies for what we call the innovations waiver, which is a special waiver for those enhanced services for people with IDD. So there's no cost. Really, our target audience is anyone who, and because we have those mobile crisis and crisis continuum services that anyone throughout the system can access, our target audience is really anyone who might be struggling with a mental health, substance use, or developmental disability disorder, and who needs some direction and some care for their individual needs. So we can direct folks on how to access care even if they're not part of our plan. But we also want to make sure that when someone has Medicaid and has that Trillium card, that they know what's available to them so that they can optimize their services and get what they need when they need it.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so what I'm hearing is just if someone was eligible for Trillium's services, they would have been notified once they've received
That's-
some type of Medicaid or?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep, so each plan issues its own identifying cards, and so if someone's eligible for Trillium, they will receive their Medicaid card with our Trillium logo in the mail, along with a welcome packet and a benefit plan.
I just want to make sure we're capturing the audience that you've come here.
I appreciate it, thank you.
You're welcome. And then I think just my last question was, I know you had said that you have a partnership working on, which is amazing. And then, but you're also working on relationships with the Lee County Jail and not gonna do that one well.
Recidivism.
There we
I
go,
gotcha.
thank you. Is that partnership going well? Is that also part of like a CCCC? As far as I know, there was some type of things going on with helping people re-enter
Yeah.
well.
So I think that partnership is in the early stages because we just staffed up that team to be
Okay.
able to take referrals. So we are open to taking referrals. We have some relationships with jail staff, but we probably could use some more referrals. We are part of the Reentry Council, and so we
perfect.
try to communicate when things like that kind of open up so that we can start to get referrals in. Our primary focus with that care management is around connecting to behavioral health care, but we will also look at that whole person plan and connect people with other needs. So if they need to get vocational support, if they need things as simple as a place to stay or clothing or transportation, our care management team is going to try to connect them with all of those resources that we know about in the community. So we have a good relationship with your Renew team to make sure that they're connected with other community supports as well.
Perfect, because that 72 hours is always the most crucial, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Other questions from the board?
You got one. How many bilingual staff do you have for Lee County?
So our community liaison is bilingual, and so she can absolutely go out to any community events that require a bilingual speaker or bilingual presenter. We have other bilingual staff on our care management teams and in our call center, but for the community, we were very intentional in hiring Uniris to be a bilingual staff to serve this county and surrounding counties.
You only have one.
We do. She is our community
All right.
liaison.
Thank you.
There may be, sorry, if I just may elaborate, there are other care management staff on our team, but for our regional operations team that's responsible for community engagement, it is Yanuris.
Any other questions? Sir.
Not a question, Madam Chair, just a couple of announcements. First off, thank you, Cecilia, for making that long trip from Wilmington. We will be hosting, Lee County will be hosting the Southern Region Board meeting this coming month, actually this month, and our Assistant Manager, Noel, will be giving a presentation to the rest of the region. Looking forward to that. And you did mention September 30th, the Trillium Emergency Preparedness Exercise. This is for the public. This is for government officials. This is for emergency preparedness people, firefighters, law enforcement, anybody that's available. You can attend. It's free. If you need information, ladies and gentlemen, you have my email. I will send you the flyer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Any other questions from the board?
Thank you very
Cecilia,
much.
thank you for coming and hope you have a safe trip back.
Thanks, appreciate it.
So we're now going to move into item number 6, public comments. There are 4 seats up front, and we'll go in order. You have, up to 3 minutes to share your thoughts. The timer will be available to you. Please remember to state your name and your address when you come forward. And then I will, like we've done in the past, I will call the next couple of people after the first is done. But before we do that, I just want to give opportunity for anyone who has signed up to give public comment, and just so that everybody knows, it's all on one topic. So anyone who has signed up to give comment that has younger children that they don't necessarily want to be, I'm so happy to have all ages here, but especially for learning and engagement. But if you have young children and you'd like to leave earlier, if you want to come forward and even out of order and share your thoughts first, you're welcome to. So please come forward if that's you. And then if Nelson Smith and Eric Evanson would come forward, and while they're doing that, let me just say that it's been a pleasure to hear from many of you via email. You've been really respectful and sharing your thoughts. It's been good to hear that. Thank you for that. Mr. Smith.
Yes. My name is Nelson Smith, and I live at 565 East River Road, Moncure, North Carolina. So yes, I've crossed the county line to speak to you, and I appreciate it. So it's really and truthfully 3 elements to data centers right now. One is the big utility that's invited the data centers, but also needs the pipeline. It needs the pipeline so it can build another utility to generate the power. Without the pipeline, it can't build that generating plant. Without the pipeline, there may be no data centers for Lee County or Chatham County. So if the public will go online and look at all the different petitions out there, we may be able to help each other. So once again, I thank you all for this time. I'll see you all at the Lee Regional Fair. When's that date? September 16th through the 20th. Hope to see you there. Please do have a good evening. Bye
Thank you,
now.
Mr. Smith. Jackie Volbra and Michelle Eves, if you would come forward. Mr. Evanson, if you would, yes. I'm sorry, let me clarify this. I messed this up last time. I'm going to call names to come forward just to have a seat so that you'll be ready to speak. So Mr. Evanson, and then if I could have Jackie and Michelle up front waiting. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Eric Evanson, Lower Moncure Road. When the Trustwell representative stood before this board last August and delivered a 28-minute presentation for a standard quiet business park bringing 500 jobs, did you believe him? The citizens believed him, so we accepted the rezoning. You believed him, so you granted it. But let's look at the reality today. Do you believe him now? Now that the mask has slipped, exposing a massive 430-acre industrial data center campus forced directly into the heart of a residential agricultural neighborhood? What does he and his partners at Helix Ventures say about this now? Wouldn't you like to hear from them? Would this board ever trust them on another land use application? A successful development requires a healthy partnership with the community, but this project is being built on a fractured foundation of hidden non-disclosure agreements and institutional secrecy. We were promised a quiet business park. Instead, Point One's application reveals a 90-megawatt power drain that delivers just 40 permanent jobs to our community. This isn't economic growth. It's an extraction of Lee County's resources. Point One's corporate charter pledge to be good neighbors, they pledge that. Yet this project forces continuous, low-frequency industrial noise directly into residential backyards. You know, the essence of freedom is truth. But how can there be truth or open government for free people when corporate non-disclosure agreements are weaponized to suppress information from the tax-paying public? We know the members of this board are good people. We know you're good people. You must be deeply uncomfortable with how this perceived bait and switch was engineered behind closed doors like we are. Point One will be the builder. Cyrus One is the user. Mr. Schwartz at Cyrus One is a good businessman. As the intended owner and end user, does he truly want Cyrus One's global brand directly attached to a public fiasco defined by perceived deceptive rezoning by their partners and years of localized community outrage? Mr. Klisch at Point One is an honorable man. Words travel rapidly in economic development. Does he want Point One's national reputation affected by this? As I have about two or three more lines. As Point One seeks future land use permits in competitive markets across the country, a toxic public record of community hostility here will become a severe regulatory liability. For the preservation of your corporate names, I urge Mr. Klisch and Mr. Schwartz to consider pausing this project, terminate your local partnerships, and formally withdraw your site plan from the Technical Review Committee. Nothing has yet been built. I say to them, protect your investments by respecting our community, and may God protect the good people of Lee County.
Thank you, Mr. Evanson. Jackie, if you would come forward, and if Jennifer, you would come have a seat up front, that would be helpful. Jackie.
All right. Hello, my name is Jackie Volbracht. I live at 3044 Creek Run, and I'm a computer science student at High Point University. I do have my minor in business. And with the topic of these data centers coming up, I think that it's really important to consider a lot of the implications that it's going to have for our environment and especially on the people here in Lee County. So for the state of North Carolina, there are currently talks with Duke Power from our Attorney General Jeff Jackson, where they are going over with Duke Power trying to lower the energy rates because of everything happening with the data centers. It is estimated to be a 7.6 gigawatt increase going into the next year, which is also why they were suggesting an 18% increase on the power bills for our everyday citizens here in Lee County and across North Carolina. However, that has been able to be negotiated down in their talks. It's not going to be concluded until the fall. But with that, I think it's really important to consider that with the rising costs of everything, including this energy, what are the burdens that are going to be placed on the people here? Because that 7.6 gigawatt power increase, that's the equivalent of 1 million air conditioning units. And considering the population of Sanford is 35,000 people, that is approximately 30 times the amount of people if we were to have air conditioning units of power that's going to be utilized. If we build this data center here, that number is going to only constrict down on the people. And unless we talk with Duke Power and we're saying, hey, we don't want these data centers, that's just going to place much more of an undue burden on the citizens that we have here. And so with that, I do suggest that we kind of move away from the data center. The gentleman before me, I think he brought up a lot of really good points. Also about distrust, because whenever we get into that topic of not being able to trust the people that are possibly building here, whenever we're talking about rising costs in this already troubled time, I think that it's really important that we kind of halt it and we have all of our facts straight. We make sure that we know all the decisions going into it. For example, how are energy rates going to be? Sorry, this is my first time speaking up here.
You're doing fine.
How are energy rates going to actually work with these data centers in our area? Are they going to have this separate plan that they pay compared to our normal citizens to help ease that burden? Because when we have such high demand and we don't have the infrastructure to infrastructure to properly support that, then I just don't think it's wise for us to move forward without knowing that these data centers are going to be able to support themselves financially. And it won't be burdens placed on people that can barely afford to feed their families, who are working every day, these long, strenuous jobs, who aren't sure that they're going to be able to afford this price increase. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jackie. Jennifer, if I could have Michelle Eves come to the podium, and Jennifer, are you up front? Thanks. And then Gary Phelps, if you'd come up front also, please. Your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Michelle Eves, and my address is 725 St. Andrews Church Road. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners and fellow citizens. My name is Michelle Eves, and I have the privilege of calling Lee County my home, the place that I was born. Tonight, I'm asking you to do something that should never be difficult for elected officials. Put the people of Lee County first. We keep hearing words like progress, economic development, and investment. Those are wonderful words, but they lose their meaning when the people who already live here are expected to carry the burden while someone else enjoys the reward. I'm not against business. I'm not against technology. I'm not against growth. I'm against sacrificing our community without knowing the full cost. Let's call this project what it is. This is not a typical light industrial business. A modern data center is an industrial scale operation that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It requires enormous amounts of electricity, significant infrastructure, industrial cooling equipment, backup diesel generators, and depending on the cooling system used, substantial water resources. That is not the image most people have when they hear the words light industrial. If this project is so harmless, then why wasn't it presented to the public that way from the beginning? Why did so many residents feel like they learned about it after decisions had already been set in motion? Why were confidentiality agreements necessary if this project is truly in the public's best interest? Whether those agreements were legally appropriate or not, they created something that should concern every one of us, a lack of public trust. Trust is earned through transparency, not secrecy. Our commissioners work for the citizens, not the other way around. Every one of you took an oath to serve the people of Lee County. The people sitting in this room tonight are not asking for anything unreasonable. We're asking for honesty, transparency. We're asking for our voices to matter before, not after, major decisions are made. This project raises serious questions that deserve real answers. How much electricity will it consume? How much water could it require over its lifetime? What happens during drought conditions? Who pays for the infrastructure improvements? Will taxpayers eventually absorb these costs? What protections exist for nearby homeowners? How will this affect future development, property values, and our quality of life? Those are not anti-business questions. Those are responsible questions. Lee County is more than a location on a map. It is our homes. It is our farms. It is our churches. It is our schools. It is where we are raising children and caring for parents. Once hundreds of acres become industrialized, there is no undo button. Once our rural landscape changes forever, we cannot vote to bring it back. And let's talk honestly about jobs. This project has been promoted as a major investment, but investment alone should never be enough. If hundreds of acres of Lee County are permanently transformed, our electric grid expanded, our water resources committed, and our infrastructure impacted, shouldn't our citizens receive more than a relatively small number of permanent jobs in return? I just have a little, can I have some more time? I'm almost done. We deserve development that grows within our community, not around it. Tonight, I ask each commissioner to remember who sent you here. Not a corporation, not a developer, not a consultant, the citizens, the families, the taxpayers, the people sitting behind me tonight. History has a way of remembering decisions like this. Years from now, your vote will either be remembered as the moment you protected Lee County or the moment you allowed it to become something its people never wanted. Please choose transparency, choose accountability, choose the people who trusted you with their vote. Vote no on this proposal, because once our water is committed, once our land is developed, and once our community changes, there is no going back.
Michelle?
Yes.
I have to ask you to wrap up. I think we understand, and I'm really grateful for everything that you said and hear you. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you.
Jennifer, please, yes. And if Mr. George Gilson Jr. would be willing to come up to the front also and have a seat, we welcome you. Jennifer, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Garner, 621 Fairway Drive, Sanford. I'm a business owner. I'm a Chatham County landowner, so obviously I've been quite busy with all that's going on, and I'm a former Spanish teacher. And one of my favorite books by Jared Diamond was Collapse: How Societies Choose to Fail or Succeed. I recommend that because I feel that we are doomed to repeat this collapse by straining our most precious resources. Have we learned nothing? Are we really willing to sell our souls for this? I feel my ancestors that developed this land, that built the roads, I feel that they're rolling over in their graves right now. They're in disbelief, because I am, that we'd be willing to sacrifice ourselves. Lee County will become the armpit of the Piedmont if we allow this. Finally, I'd like to mention that on my way to a Sanford City Council work session back in April, I had a conversation with a Sanford City Council member and chair of the Joint Planning Committee who was fumbling over himself, trying to press upon me the importance of getting this rule set passed. This rule set that to me seems tailor-made for this group, for Cyrus One, and really, I'm concerned about that. And if I'm wrong, please educate me. We all genuinely want to know what's really going on. So that's why I'm here. As difficult as it is for me to stand up here and speak, I've been coming months after month, Mondays and then Tuesdays, and now Chatham County. So I pray thee to listen to what we have to say. Again, educate me on this. If I'm wrong, please put the facts out there so we can all understand better for public transparency, and vote on a moratorium so we can all pause this to understand more. I feel like we deserve that. I'm disturbed by the behaviors and the secrecy behind this project that impacts all of us, and we're better than this. Thank you respectfully for listening.
Thank you, Jackie. If Amanda Boyce would come forward and have a seat, that would be helpful, and Mr. Phelps.
Hi, my name's Gary Phelps, Suffin Drive, North Carolina. I am a lifelong Lee County resident.
Would you be willing to move the microphone up just so I can hear you better?
How about
Thanks.
that? A little better for me?
Yes.
All right. I'm a lifelong Lee County resident, so I can remember when we had two newspapers, Tobacco, Textiles, and Brick were king, and we made our money off of the sweat of our work. I realized those things have changed. Simply bringing a data center here is not going to help us out in a perceptible way. You will get more tax dollars because you're going to drive the value of the land up, but at what cost? Low frequency, long amplitude waves between 20 and 200 hertz is responsible for something called Havana syndrome. These low frequency waves are not easily stopped by the standard methods you can use to abate sound. Walls, foliage, and distance do not matter to these waves. These infra waves will continue to go and go and go, and they cause headaches, nausea, dizziness. They can make you have insomnia. That is something a foreign nation did to our delegates in Cuba. Would you willingly, voluntarily do this to your own citizens in your own county? You cannot abate these waves with our current policies. Also, you're going to put in place a sound ordinance, which is based upon a decibel level. These low frequency waves with long wave amplitudes do not show up easily on a decibel meter because they are so low frequency. You cannot stop it by simply saying a sound above this decibel level is not proper, because it will easily pass that sound level measurement. Do you have a question about that? If you don't, you should. Everyone in this room should be thinking what we don't want to do. I've lived here all my life, and I understand you got to make money. You have to raise money to complete the infrastructure, but please do it in a responsible manner and not one which harms the citizens of this county. Please, I got 20 seconds. Give me a question. I'll answer it for you. No?
The forum isn't set up for that, sir.
I know, but you should, if at least ask yourself that question. Peace.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps. I think Amanda is already waiting up front. If you would give me one moment, Mr. George, and if Jonathan Boyce would also be up front. Mr. Gilson.
Yes, hi, my name is George Gilson. I live at 124 Godwin Court in Sanford. This will be the third time that I've been here speaking. The first two times I felt that the board was not listening and prejudiced and secretly stacked in favor of data centers by both Saga and the developers, despite it being visibly and outwardly voiced that the majority of all present were adamantly opposed to data centers and asked for a moratorium on them in Lee County. Then the papers reported on some behind-the-scenes secret communications and related texts supporting my suspicions. I am here again for the third time and outwardly voice my opposition to data centers in Lee County and my recommendation for a moratorium on them. Data centers are the next bust. They use large swaths of valuable land. They bring very few local good jobs and value to the county, and they use up and monopolize county resources and infrastructure and put an additional strain on resources, land values, and overall health, safety, and welfare of the community in which they are put in. When this false boom is all over and said and done, we will be left with a huge unusable property and buildings that no one will be able to afford and utilize. And in the end, the county and the taxpayer will be caught holding the bag for all the problems they have brought to our county and the people of this community. Please listen this time. Opposition is growing in all other areas and in Lee County. Moratoriums are being passed all around you, and for good reason. And the people here in Lee County are watching. The opposition here is growing, and your representation of us is at risk if you do not listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. And if Randy would please come to the front and have a seat? Thank you. Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Boyce. I live at 1432 Lee's Chapel Road. Good evening, Commissioners. Each time I drive in and out of Sanford, I'm reminded of our county motto, committed today for a better tomorrow. 3 weeks ago, when I became aware of this proposed data center project, I began to look at the facts of what had transpired through that lens. I submit to you with absolute certainty, secrets buried alive never die. What I have to say in these 3 minutes is a mere shadow of the immensity of what is essential for both me, your constituent, and you, my representative, to thoughtfully and without compromise examine. Infrasound. It exists in nature. It serves as a natural warning signal. Natural disasters such as tsunamis and volcanoes emit infrasound. Predators, such as a tiger, emits infrasound as they roar before pouncing on prey. What does this do in the biology of humans and animals? Infrasound triggers the amygdala of the brain to dump the stress hormone cortisol. Cortisol produces the fight-flight response. This enables humans and animals to respond to the momentary disaster. An industrial complex of this magnitude doesn't operate as nature does. Unlike infrasound that exists in nature, this infrasound would never end, continually emitting infrasound on you and your constituents for miles around. This continuous signal would produce constant cortisol dumps in humans and animals alike. There is a current epidemic in our country of stress-related illnesses. A recent study showed 90% of doctor visits were related to stress. So what happens when you take this group of individuals that is already under immense stress, and then you signal to their bodies to constantly dump the stress hormone? Continuous cortisol dumps are at the root of countless chronic diseases and cancers. Infrasound from data centers has been documented for up to 500 miles from the location. Ladies and gentlemen, what type of tomorrow will this create? I close with this invitation from the greatest leader that ever walked the face of the earth. Consider the lily. This is not merely a sweet sentiment. This is an imperative and authoritative invitation to observe the laws of nature. When laws of nature are observed and aligned with, humanity, by virtue of its design, will flourish. If this invitation is ignored, eventually it leads to death. I, for one, am committed today for a flourishing Lee County tomorrow. I urge you, please consider the lily.
Thank you, Amanda. Jonathan, please come up. And then if Christopher on Autumn Valley Drive, if you could come forward also and have a seat, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Jonathan, thank you.
Jonathan Boyce, 1432 Lee's Chapel Road. Good evening, Commissioners. We've heard efforts to mitigate the impacts of property values plummeting and electric bills doubling caused by the data centers. But we've heard these from outside developers who have lied to you from the start. And amidst concerns over local shallow wells drying up, extremely low frequencies and EMFs emitting off of power lines, and known carcinogenic substances being released into our air and water, there's a critical problem we must address that goes beyond their deceptive answers: the invisible threat of infrasound. Infrasound isn't just about audible noise, it's about energy propagation physics. While developers have not been forthright, the laws of physics are absolutely clear. The proposed facilities are designed to emit massive amounts of low-frequency sound, but unlike higher-pitched sounds we perceive as noise or pollution in our homes, this energy has a different character entirely. These sound waves with frequencies below human hearing have wavelengths so long that standard sound meters designed for human perception completely miss the measurement. It travels differently. It doesn't bounce or scatter easily, passing right through walls and foundations without reducing its force. Nature's laws makes this a unique challenge. Infrasound penetrates everything. Standard building materials offer no real barrier. It's registered by your body. Even if you can't hear it, your internal organs act as resonators. The pressure itself is physically transmitted into structures and through air. The constant low-frequency pressure waves cause chronic stress by continuously triggering a threat response, manifesting in various disease states. Outside developers and internal planners might propose moving the facility further back, but according to physics and common sense, that won't stop the infrasound from impacting homes within a significant radius. Unless you decouple the foundations of those homes from the source of the infrasound or install specialized equipment on each citizen's homes, there goes your $900 million tax revenue. We need a moratorium to properly measure this threat using multi-weighted sensors to understand its true impact. We need proper documentation before it's too late, not just studies funded by the developer narratives, which have proven to be false. And standard zoning fixes won't address a problem that propagates through physics. You cannot block infrasound with mass or distance. Data centers emit energy our bodies are only equipped to process in a short-lived, life-threatening situation, and the universe doesn't care how far back a building is set in your zoning codes. So let's stop focusing on what they say they will do, which has proven to be incomplete, irrelevant, or outright lies, and focus on what we know for sure, that this development will subject residents to an unavoidable and continuous low-frequency stress field unless you mandate it never starts in the first place. Because the laws of physics won't change, act decisively based on trust and science, not developer assurances. We cannot rely on deceptive economic arguments designed to distract from biological reality. Can we rely on you to stop these lies in their tracks?
Thank you, Jonathan. And thank you, let's see, I have Christopher here, correct?
Yes.
And then if I could have Randy, I'll have you speak next, and if Heather could come forward, please. Thank you, Chris, for your address.
All right. Welcome. My name is Chris Chesum. I live at 624 Autumn Valley Drive. Good evening, commissioners and chairman. I'm the son of Rex Chesum, who many of you may know. I've lived on Lower Moncure Road almost my entire life. And very soon, I'll actually be moving back out there in a brand new home. Living where we do out there, it offers us peace, quiet, and a comfortable place to call home. It's away from all the noise and just far enough away from the city. None of us were aware of what was being planned for that rezoning. We were all misled. I remember when that whole area, that whole entire site was nothing but trees and nature. We definitely do not need or want a data center so close to our homes, disrupting our way of life with constant noise, higher bills, lower water pressure, negative sleep effects, and many other reported concerns. Having a data center in my backyard is not the future I envisioned, and not the future any of us would want. I urge the commissioners to listen to all the calls, emails, and the people here tonight when we say to do what's right for the people of Sanford and the people living on Lower Moncure Road. Do not approve the building, no data centers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Christopher. Randy, if you would come to the podium, and then if Sherry Becker would come have a seat up front. Thank you. Randy.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all the good people here at Lee County. I'm not as well-spoken as everybody who's talked before me, but I have some questions.
Could I describe your address? Did you tell me that already?
I'm sorry,
You're good.
Randy Avila, 3116 Passau Court.
Thank you.
Here in Sanford.
Cool.
I have some questions. What is the likeliness, despite everybody's concerns of this data center, what is the likeliness of this data center being constructed? Is it probable? It's a question. It's not I'm not giving a statement here.
So the situation is we're here to listen and take notes, but we can't really respond to you right now. But there are plenty of people here in the audience that you can ask that question to after or come up to us after.
Ma'am, I appreciate your integrity to adhere to the rules, but these are concerns. and it's a legitimate question, because we can all come here and express our concerns to you and give out raw data about how it's going to affect us and impact our lives. But I'm genuinely concerned about the likeliness, despite our concerns, of this data center being constructed, because there's $900 million behind it being funded. That's more than probably we all make per year. I'm going to take a wild guess. So that's a lot of support. And let's just say it's a 90% chance, I'm just being hypothetical here, that's going to be constructed. Do you have any idea who's going to be doing the cybersecurity behind this data center? There's a lot of concerns, and cybersecurity is one of them. So, for perspective here, 80% of our digital footprint is handled outside of country, whether it be by China or another country. So once it's delivered out there, it's delivered, but then Americans, Lee County residents, will have to pay to get that data back. How is that paid? Through firewalls and these software security systems, but through a third-party country. And if you're curious at all, 80% of this cybersecurity is managed in Israel, where we pay to get our information back. It doesn't belong to you. We rent it back. I'm curious, and it's a genuine question, what is the likeliness of this data center being constructed? And I'll give the rest of my time, it's not much. If you could answer that, please. These are your representatives.
Thank you, Randy. I think we're at Heather, correct? If you'd come forward. It's just a point of order. Is there any way we can get the sound a little raised on the guest microphone? Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Heather Watson. I live at 1970 Cotton Road. Thank you, Commissioner Vorbeck. I'm here to address what I see as a failure by the county to provide adequate opportunity for public oversight on Lower Moncure Road. A project of this magnitude wields the potential for significant impacts to public infrastructure and can transform the landscape of Lee County, as I'm sure you are all aware. To allow such a project to proceed strictly through bureaucratic review process alone would be an abdication of your duty to the public. The Board of Commissioners is elected to represent the public. However, the move to make data centers a permitted use strip the public of their rights to future hearings, site-specific hearings, and public hearings in the future. Our local zoning codes were then altered in a way that directly benefits corporations before the community, settling on a 65 decibel noise ceiling, exempting industrial backup generators, and slashing the noise violations, which I really find to be the most offensive, because $100 is really laughable to a corporation. But it wasn't just rewriting a zoning code. It expanded a corporation's property rights at the direct expense of our own. And yes, a corporation has a constitutional right to buy industrial land and develop it, but protecting the property rights of one cannot come at the expense of violating the property rights of others. The homeowners of Lee County possess an equal constitutional right to peace, quiet, and the preservation of equity. When altering the UDO, it elevated corporate profits over our baseline citizen protections. I understand that you guys followed baseline procedures in rewriting UDO laws. However, the zoning power handed to you by the people created a loophole that was exploited by outside investors. And it is to their benefit and not to the people. Just because an action is procedurally legal does not make it just. And it is wrong to hide behind an administrative process at the expense of personal accountability. Henry David Thoreau once wrote in Civil Disobedience, "Law never made a whit more just, and by means of their respect for it, even the well-disposed are made daily made the agents of injustice." So I ask you tonight, will you be the agents of injustice, or will you be the protectors of legacy for future generations? Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Would Donna Evanson and Jeff Kidd please come forward and have a seat, and if Sherry would come to the podium? Yes. Did I pronounce your name wrong?
That's all
I
right.
apologize. If you would pronounce it correctly and share your address.
Okay. My name is Cherie Becker Volbracht. I live at 3044 Creek Run in Sanford. My daughter spoke earlier. Short and sweet of the matter is that the company has not been above board and truthful with the people of Lee County. So why on God's green earth would we think a relationship with this company based on a lie will work? As my dad would say, it is just that pure and simple. Honesty is and always should be crucial in any aspect of life. Again, pure and simple. As to the second part of my comments, consider that my dad spent the majority of his 35-year career cut short by leukemia being in charge of cleaning up toxic waste dumps for the state of Pennsylvania, and was considered an expert witness in court cases, and even had a heart attack at 39 because of the stress of being an expert witness for a groundbreaking court case at the time that I can't recall offhand, as it was many years ago. I helped him with charts and presentations throughout his career. His number one pet peeve was lack of thinking things through and not being proactive. Too many times, companies destroyed land by sucking out all the nearby resources and then abandoned them and their toxic waste. Yes, the state sued them, but 9 times out of 10, the company went bankrupt before so much as a penny was collected after years of court battles to clean up their waste. So I hope we don't do business with this dishonest company, but if you do, please heed my father's warnings and at least be proactive and get upfront costs placed in a trust before any construction begins so that taxpayers don't pay for cleanup costs, as I guarantee years down the road, you will have cleanup costs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sorry. Donna Evanson, Lower Moncure Road. You all heard Trustwell represent what they plan to build at the light industrial park on Lower Moncure Road. Yet so far, you have chosen not to call for a moratorium to make sure you get an ordinance for a data center that protects our citizens. I would like to share with you what may be coming next if Point One Data Centers gets involved with the development of this data center campus. Public records show that Point One is developing several data centers in the state of Virginia, but are you aware that none of those hyperscale data centers by Point One have been built? They have no experience building a hyperscale center. One technique that you may encounter if you move forward with Point One is that of pressuring you to make a decision immediately. Last October, they told the Charles City County Board of Supervisors that the company had submitted a site plan for the Point One Richmond data center, and they needed the county to move quickly on tax classification, permitting, and a development agreement to keep the project viable. They asked the county to provide within 10 working days a staffing contacts list identified who would be worked with, who should work on each of the items, and said that those key items should be in place by February. Is Lee County equipped with the know-how to regulate a massive data center that wants immediate answers? When they want it now. And incidentally, the county in Virginia has hired third-party plan review and inspectors, which are paid by Point One, because they don't have the ability to consider all the things that come with data centers. Another technique you may encounter with point one is what I would call the we don't know response. When asked how many and what type of turbines would be used in the 2 turbine yards of the Richmond Data Center, a citizen was told the information was unavailable. She FOIA'd it and found that there were 35 gas-powered turbines providing power 24/7, 365 days a year, and the permits called for 271 diesel-powered generators. I want to take a little detour here. The permits for the Richmond County Data Center say that point one will limit each generator to 500 hours a year. That sounds really nice, doesn't it? But has anyone done the math? There are 60 hours in a year. 271 generators running for 500 hours in that year is a runtime of 135,500 hours. So you can see by these numbers that this 500-hour limit is just not really a gift, but it sounds good when they tell you that. The noise contour that was submitted to you all by Trinity Consultants for Lower Moncure allowed for 2 emergency generators to, quote, represent the loudest noises expected from the site. There's a big difference in the noise of 2 generators and the noise of 100 to 200 generators. Are you going to demand that point one update their study to show the impact of the real number of generators that will be running at the site? A third technique you may encounter with point one is what may be called the revised request. In Fauquier County, point one, the permit was for 13 natural gas turbines. They revised the plan several times over a 6-month period, adding items to get what they wanted. And then they suddenly switched from 13 natural gas turbines to 488 natural gas fuel cells. Last month, they requested a new
Mrs. Evanson,
proposal.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
may I ask you to send that information by email?
Sure, I'd be
That
glad
would be
to.
helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jeff Kidd, and if I could please have Julie Davis, Lydia Combs, and Thomas Avelli in the front, that would be helpful. Thank you. Mr. Kidd.
Hi, I'm Jeff Kidd. I live at 4217 Lower Moncure Road. I'm a USDA registered farm. I'm a bona fide farm. We raise goats, chickens, and sell eggs. The Helix Vector Project, as they call it, but from Trustwell, wraps around my property and my neighbor's property. We're the ones in the middle that they decided to go around, so we will get all of the impact of all the noise pollution, all the light pollution from their development. We measure our sound readings twice a day at least, sometimes multiple days. Our average decibel range is 35 to 40 decibels day or night at our property lines, right? I think most of you may have gotten some of those emails from my wife about those, right? We videotape it, we're setting them, and we're recording those, and those will be used later. We're also looking at low frequency recordings, right? So if this ever gets built, hopefully not, we will have that data for you so we can come back and say we were all lied to. In fact, about a month from now, it'll be a year since we had our rezoning meeting, right? That's when they gave you this, right? It's at the 1 hour, 1 minute mark on the video that you can look at on YouTube. It shows people walking around at their park, people riding bicycles at their park. Now, we're going to have a site that doesn't have people walking around, doesn't have people riding bikes. It will be mostly empty. There will not be Lee County jobs there. If they are, there will be very few. Truxwell lied to us. They promised all that. Then we have Cirrus One coming in. They're not a good neighbor. And they've been in multiple controversies involving their U.S. data centers. They were named this month in a lawsuit filed by a county in Illinois to help overturn their approval and to ban their, to approve their board's approval and overturn that. Cirrus One has also been in constant complaints with the Aurora, Illinois data center they built in 2016. Noise pollution, both in the human hearing range and the low-frequency sounds reaching the decibel level of 80 decibels coming off of their property. It sounds like a helicopter landing on your house. This is what's going to happen to us in Lower Moncure, right? There are multiple class actions going on right now for data centers, right? If this is built, you can bet there will be one. If it is built, you can bet that the next headline you read is the class action suit in Lee County, and the board will be named in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Davis, if you would come to the podium. And Keely, if you'd come forward and have a seat. Julie.
Julie Davis, 502 Buckrow Drive. I am a veterinarian here in Lee County, and I own a business here that is a veterinary hospital. I'm not going to touch on all the infrasound and low-frequency sound and everything that has already been spoken upon. I do want to remind people that the plethora of diesel generators can reach over 105 decibels when they are running. So that blows any limitation you may put on that facility out of the water any and every time those diesel generators turn on. From the research I've been able to glean, the average natural gas-powered turbine can produce over 70 decibels at 400 feet away, as far as what you can read on equipment. So we already know that there's going to be noise concerns. I want to also talk about my kind of specialty, which is comparative anatomy and physiology. I'm, as I said, a veterinarian. There are several studies, mostly out of University of Michigan, and I think UC Davis has a few as well, stating that any consistent noise between the range of 40 and 65 decibels, though an annoyance to us, can significantly disrupt circadian rhythms, can disrupt sleep cycles, and increase stress in wildlife and cattle, livestock as well, to the point where we can often see reduce in foraging of multiple species. We can also see disruption of breeding habits and behaviors, as well as stillbirths increasing significantly in both wildlife and domesticated species. If comparative anatomy and physiology has taught me anything, it's that anything and everything that happens in the veterinary world has a human counterpart. So what is going to end up happening to the humans exposed to the same constant barrage of sound, which, by the way, is 24/7 because the data centers do not shut down. They run all the time. Any and everybody within a distance, just the audible sounds can be absolutely devastating. And that's not even touching base on the heat bubble or the heat island effects that we absolutely need to be concerned about as well. University of Cambridge recently had a study that I think went out for peer review. I don't know if it's been published or not yet, but they evaluated over 6,000 data centers worldwide. And the average temperature increase within 6.2 miles, that's in all directions, meaning over 12-mile total radius of each site, was a 3.6 degree Fahrenheit increase in surface temperatures. And these are all locations that were not within urban areas. They were far out in rural areas only. They excluded all urban heat sources, with the highest jump being 16.4 degree increase in the temperature, and that's in Fahrenheit, which can astronomically affect the local environment and the people as well. And the amount of just massive ramifications that can happen on the animals and the people in the area is very, very concerning. I think the health of everyone should be put first, and the North Carolina General Statutes does have a statement in it that, and I quote, states, "Residents of this state have the right to peaceful, safe, and quiet enjoyment of their homes." That is word for word verbatim out of the North Carolina General Statutes. I'd have to look up the specific one, but I think it's somewhere in Chapter 42.
Thank you, Julie.
Needs to
Thank
be
you.
observed.
Thank you. Lydia? Lydia Combs? Lydia Combs?
What happened to Randy Nixon?
Oh, Randy, yes. My goodness, I think that is my fault. Randy, no, I'm sorry. It was Randy Avila, and he spoke. Yeah, okay. Thomas, maybe the same. Thomas Avila? Thomas Keeley. And then if we could have Donna Strickland and Claire Pickett come and have a seat in the front, please. Keeley.
Keely Porch, 363 Angel Road.
I've been coming here since August of last year. Once again, I'm asking you to consider putting a moratorium in place for data center applications. When Jimmy Randolph hyped a data center with touting how it would support our local businesses and manufacturing industry as end users, did he really realize it was going to become a campus of 10 data center buildings with 5 million square footage, a hyperscale campus? As soon as you see the name CyrusOne attached to it, you will see that's that they work with Amazon, Google, Meta massive computational AI workloads rather than individual end users that he touted. CyrusOne has had numerous citations against them in Colorado for noise infractions this month, as the gentleman before me said. This month, 2 counties in Illinois filed lawsuits against them. The lawsuit argues the rezoning is inconsistent with the city's comprehensive plan and asks to declare the rezoning void. Did Trustwell Properties sell the rezoning as a light industry for a warehouse? Sounds like could be the same playbook. Can Tri-Water approve not just 125,000 gallons a day at the current application? Can they multiply that by 10? Can Central Electric, that approved 126 megawatts, but can they support that by tenfold? North Point data center developer is now offering $10,000 payment to eligible households in Hazel Township, Pennsylvania, because the community is fighting the data center. Is that what we're going to happen in Lee County? Select commissioners are pushing individual meetings with CyrusOne. Chris O'Grady for on Thursday. Let me just remind everyone, do you remember when Chara tried coming and using this playbook in Lee County with the coal ash dump, doing individual meetings? The same thing is going to happen. It's called divide and conquer, and that is their playbook. 21 North Carolina jurisdictions have recently paused data centers, including Charlotte, and the list is growing. Do we have the ability and the capability to fight battery, thermal, runway fires? An individual risk assessment should be added to the UDO. The integrity of the supply chain. Can you verify that 100% of the hardware, the chips, the cooling comply with national security mandates? This should also be added to the UDO since it is a live document as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Keely. Donna Strickland, if you would come to the podium. And I think I have Claire, Randy Nixon, and Gary Johnson, if you would also come up front. Yes, ma'am.
Donna Strickland. I live at 1708 Woodridge Drive here in Sanford. I am talking to you about personal experience in history. And this is, I dealt with great displeasure, Duke Energy and Chara back in 2014 and 2015 when they tried to sneak in under the cover of darkness a coal ash dump on our community. There is a game plan that these people do. And here's what I have gotten it down to. They choose a community that is ignorant. I'm not saying stupid, I'm saying ignorant. They don't know what is going to be brought to them. They don't have all of the knowledge. Then they sneak in by buying property, and they establish themselves by convincing the movers and the shakers of the community. We're talking about big businessmen in the community and politicians that this is a good thing, and convince them with pie-in-the-sky information about what they want to bring in, and then in so doing, these people become ambassadors to other business people and politicians, get them all in, and then the people like me and these people out here are left coming with their hats in their hands and begging for you to listen to what we have to say, because we're doing the research. We are finding out what's going on across the nation. Then on top of all of that, they'll dangle a little bit of money to put in this park and to do this thing for this school. They use a bully-type activity where they come in and they talk to a community and they say all these wonderful things. And if the community pushes back, then they throw up their hands and they move to another unsuspecting community. If you don't think that that's not the situation, then all you have to do is look at Edgecombe County. Edgecombe County said no. Now they're forcing their thoughts on developing in Nash County. Chatham County said no, and so they came to us. It's time for us to say no. We do not want this. Please go somewhere else, preferably nowhere else, but not here. Thank you.
Thank you. Claire?
Thank you. My name is Claire Pickett, and I live at 521 Valley Road in Westlake. First of all, I'd like to say I'm so impressed by all of you. You're amazing, amazing activists, and that's what this is all going to be about, because I've been through this before. I was involved in, the last two ladies spoke about it also, about the last really, really horrible near environmental disaster for Lee County. And that was Dirty Duke Energy wanting to come here and dump coal ash on our land to fill in holes, supposedly. This coal ash had arsenic. It had all the hard, heavy metals in it. It had arsenic, it had lead, it had mercury. But you know what? Nobody helped us in the government. You know, this didn't happen. We beat them. We beat Duke Energy. We have no coal ash because it was activism. It was activism. I was part of it. It wasn't as big a group as this. It wasn't. This is very impressive. And we did beat them. And I have a lot of optimism about not allowing these data centers in our community. We all know that they're no damn good. We all know that. Why should Lee County, like the coal ash, why should we have this environmental anathema in our community? We won't stand for it. The people in this room are all activists, and we will not stand for it. It's not going to happen. Carry on.
Thank you, Claire.
Good evening. My name is Randy Nixon. I live at 1147 Cumnock Road. I'm here yet again to ask for a moratorium on data centers. Since last year, I have seen hundreds of people step in front of this board and ask for this moratorium, and I have seen probably thousands show up in support. I've seen Democrats, I've seen Republicans, I've seen men and women, black and white, young and old, rich and poor, all ask for the same thing. And so far, it appears it's fallen upon deaf ears. Proverbs 21:13 reads, "Whoever shuts their ears to the cry of the poor will also cry out and not be answered." Thank you. God bless America.
Thank you, Randy. Gary Johnson.
Gary Johnson, 3033 Lower Moncure Road. I had some things to say, but my predecessors here have done it much better than I would ever be able to. So what I'm left with is something my father said to me when I was a boy growing up. He said, "Son, I don't trust liars, cheaters, and thieves." And I grew up with that, and I believed it and tried to live that way, and I think I have. But in looking at all this, it seems like they lied to us from the get-go, is what they were going to do and how they were going to do it. And in having non-disclosure agreements out there, that's kind of cheating. But cheating and lying are kind of the same thing, so okay. But the last of it is, what are they stealing? They are stealing the very nature of this community. They're stealing the forest, the peace and quiet, the reason most of us live here, because it's a nice place to live. I grew up in Connecticut. I've lived around the country in many places, and we chose here because it's very much like where I grew up in Connecticut. So I ask you, make a moratorium, get this over with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I want to thank everyone who came for public comment. We have completed all on the sign-up sheet. You are welcome to email me or anyone on the board what you shared tonight. Thank you. Do we want to take a 5-minute break or no? We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Pardon me? 10? 10-minute recess. It is 7:52. Our break is complete, and we are calling the meeting back to order. We actually had someone sign up in a place that was not intended to be signed, so I'm going to ask Nancy to come forward and give your name and address as our final public comment. If I could have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Nancy Zwerin. I live at 515 Apple Lane in Sanford. My apologies, I didn't sign up on the correct sheet, but I did want to state my opinion regarding the data centers. Like many residents, I have serious concerns about the proposed data center. While I understand that economic development is an important responsibility of this board, I also understand that growth without thoughtful safeguards can come at a cost that our community may pay for decades. Whether this particular project ultimately moves forward or not, my request is simple. Please adopt the strongest possible Unified Development Ordinance to protect the things that make Lee County such a special place to live. Protect our water resources. Water is not an unlimited resource, and once it's gone or compromised, we simply cannot replace it. Protect our environment, our farmland, our wildlife, and the quality of life that has drawn so many of us here. Protect our residents from bearing the financial burden of increased electrical demand. Families and seniors on fixed income should not see their utility costs rise because of large industrial users. Most importantly, ensure that any company choosing to locate here meets the highest standards of long-term accountability, transparency, and environmental stewardship. Development should never mean lowering our standards. It should mean raising expectations. The decisions you make regarding this data center will shape Lee County for generations to come. I ask that you make those decisions with wisdom, with courage, with forethought, and a commitment to protecting the people and the wildlife who already call this county home. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you, Nancy. Okay, so we will move into agenda item 4 for planning item. Thomas.
Hello, good evening. So, good evening, Commissioners, Planning Board members, county staff, and residents. This item starts on page 398 of your agenda packet, and I will keep this brief. This is a proposed text amendment that was brought to you for a public hearing back in June 15th last month. And while it does include some pretty big changes to the UDO, most of them are tailored towards addressing increasing residential growth demands within the city of Sanford. There are minimal changes within these set of text amendments that would have any real impact on development within Lee County. I'll just run through a couple of very quick notes here. I do have the PowerPoint from last time if you want me to move to a particular slide, but I'll just go over some of the big changes. Just modifying the R20 zoning district, renaming it RN20, and changing the minimum lot width from 100 feet to 80 feet, and then making some of the setbacks a bit more shallow. Requiring a 20-foot undisturbed green belt around residential subdivisions greater than 10 acres in size, exempting cul-de-sac lots from the lot width to depth ratio, just because those cul-de-sac lots have to be kind of narrow, changing the 30-lot rule or the 30-lot threshold for subdivisions that require a second entrance point, changing that 30 to 100 to align with state law and the state fire code. And then a good amount of clarifying language. For example, we just have some language that we have, frequently used in the last, as long as I've been here for the last 8 years, just regarding staff interpretations of the UDO regarding outdoor storage being required or being allowed as an accessory use only, meaning you have to have a structure, some kind of address, commercial structure, not just a field full of RVs, for example, or a field full of boats and calling it storage. So just a few technical tweaks there. The planning board did meet on June 15th after the public hearing and recommended by a 6-to-1 vote that the Board of Commissioners vote to approve these UDO changes. Topics of discussion centered on some concern about the HOA or another responsible organization owning the perimeter greenbelt property that was discussed, which would theoretically be behind backyards of individual lots, and there were some privacy concerns there about the HOA owning land behind a private individual property. And then another point of concern was potential negative impacts of having to reduce developable area by a 20-foot band around a given property for a residential subdivision. But other than that, the planning board did not have a substantial amount of discussion, and I will pause there for any questions you might have or any comments you might have for me.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
Thomas, I think my only question is are we able, is it a one for all and all for one type of thing when it comes to recommending these changes? Or could you pull something out that isn't necessarily?
That's up to the board if you'd like. It depends. Yes, to answer your question, if there is something this board does not like in terms of allowing it for the Lee County jurisdiction, if you would like to discuss that, it is theoretically possible to change it, and we can exempt or modify that language in the UDO.
I mean, you know how I stand on fire code, but I guess sidestep on that one. With the new changes when it comes to parking lot and spaces, does that have any effect of anything that we've discussed?
No,
with
that's
the new
coming.
legislation?
That's coming. That'll, for everyone's understanding too, HB 162 was approved in the State House and the State Senate, and Governor Stein signed it into law that prohibits most cities and counties in North Carolina from mandating minimum parking requirements. I I attended office hours with Adam Lovelady and James Joyce at the UNC School of Government. That law goes into effect January 1st, 2027. So we have up until that point that we could theoretically continue to enforce those parking minimums if we so choose to. It sounded like some cities and counties were walking away from that. And just so everyone knows too, cities like Raleigh, Durham, Gastonia have already done away with parking minimums years ago. So that, to answer your question though, no, this has nothing to do with that. That is a UDO text amendment that will be coming down the pipe, and I am already reviewing the UDO to pull out those parking requirements to align with state law. But to answer your question, no, this has nothing to do with that.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I guess it's not necessarily a question. It's more, I guess, a statement to, I think for the most part, everything else makes sense. I just caution on changing our R20 to the RN20 on trying to make it.
Sure.
I'm going to speak probably out of context, but it makes it seem like it's benefiting the city more so than the county. So.
That's perfectly fine. Just if it helps at all, or just to give some context, whether, however you feel, we have a little over 30,000 parcels in Lee County. David Montgomery's kind of went through GIS. We have about 55 or so parcels in unincorporated Lee County that are currently zoned R20. Far be it for me to say what could or could not be turned into a residential subdivision and subdivide further, but it would not be a seismic shift. You wouldn't see a pretty, however you vote, you wouldn't see R20 zone property in the county drastically change or drastically be more dense, if that provides any context for you. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the board? Is there?
Doing a motion?
Yes.
May I offer up a motion to approve everything minus moving R20 to RN20?
Heard the motion. Is there discussion?
What's your motion?
Is keeping everything, like the other articles within the changes that were asked of the planning board and stuff. And my motion is to approve everything outside of, everything but moving R20 to the RN20, allowing that smaller.
Smaller
Please do a
lot
better
width.
job at explaining it than I can.
That's correct. Yes, I believe Commissioner Vorbreck is making a motion to approve, or a motion to approve all changes, save for changing R20 to RN20 due to the reduced lot width, not lot size, but lot width and the shallower setbacks, more shallow setbacks.
Yes, sir.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I didn't do the discussion, did I, again? And it passes. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Hi, Amy. We are going to move into agenda item 5, public hearing. Ms. McNeil.
Good evening, everyone. This is a joint public hearing with the Lee County Commissioners and the Lee County Planning Board. Northwest Pocket Volunteer Fire Department would like to rezone a 2-acre tract of land developed as the Northwest Pocket Volunteer Fire Department substation, addressed as 478 Blackstone Road, from residential agricultural to office and institutional, to allow a proposed building addition. And the site is illustrated with the GIS aerial image on the screen behind you and in front of you. The existing fire station was originally constructed in 1990 under the old Lee County zoning ordinance, which allowed fire stations by right in all county zoning districts. The proposed addition must comply with the UDO adopted in 2006, which allows fire stations by right in all commercial zoning districts and and fire stations in all residential zoning districts upon issuance of a special use permit by the Board of Adjustment. Rezoning this parcel to a commercial zoning district will allow the proposed building addition to proceed with staff-level approval, subject to compliance with the UDO development standards, such as minimum building setbacks, landscaping, etc. Therefore, the Northwest Pocket Volunteer Fire Department has submitted a request to rezone the site from residential agricultural to office and institutional, given that this is the least intensive commercial zoning district. For example, it allows office and institutional land uses such as florist, but not convenience stores. Other examples of uses permitted by right within the O&I zoning district include finance and insurance services, medical and dental clinics, professional offices, churches, restaurants with no drive-in or drive-through facilities, and schools. And there's a list of all the permitted uses in the O&I zoning district included in your agenda for your reference. You may recall that there was a similar rezoning request in May for the Lemon Springs Volunteer Fire Department on Greenwood Road. Staff has proposed a UDO text amendment to remedy this type of situation by proposing to allow fire, sheriff, and emergency services to be permitted by right in all zoning districts, which is also on the agenda this evening. The applicant is aware of this proposed text amendment, but preferred to move forward with this rezoning request due to a tight construction schedule and setback issues. Our adopted land use plan designates this parcel as countryside, which is not supportive of office and institutional type development. However, the fire station is existing, and ultimately it's up to the Board of Commissioners to determine how the county should grow and if they're comfortable with commercial zoning at this location. Additional information presented at the public hearing should also be considered in the recommendation and the final decision regarding the requested zoning map amendment. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes,
Is-
ma'am.
Is this the parcel that, I just want to make sure, I know that there's a couple that we are talking about here. Is this the parcel that will be changed due to the building that needs to go on?
Yes, ma'am. There's a proposed building addition, and the building, the fire department has already secured a contractor. They already have the metal building. It's on the site. So they'd like to move forward with the rezoning. It would save them about a month's time with waiting for the proposed text amendment. And also, it's my understanding that in the existing zoning district, there's a 30-foot front setback, and the building would actually, O&I allows for a 10-foot setback, and this building addition would fall somewhere between that 30 and 10 feet. So the site needs to be rezoned not only to allow the proposed building addition, but to allow the building addition to fall within the 30 to 10-foot setback. So it would have to comply with a 10-foot setback, not a 30-foot setback.
I
is a better way of
understand.
putting that.
You can appreciate that we've had a lot of discussion in the county about rezoning with
Yes,
Plan
ma'am.
San Lee lately. And so I guess my question to you is why did you choose this particular zoning for this?
O&I is the least intensive commercial zoning district, and if you look at the zoning map in your agenda package, you see, it's surrounded by residential agricultural. So staff didn't encourage something like general commercial, because that's what you see up and down Horner Boulevard with the widest range of commercial-oriented and retail service uses. We chose the least intensive, which is office and institutional, because that would have the least commercial impact on the area if it ever was something other than a fire station. It also allows the fire station to proceed with their development and to put the proposed building the size they want it to be.
Thank you. Thank you. Questions from the board?
Do you happen to know who owns the adjoining properties?
I have an adjoining property owners list in the agenda packet. They were all notified via mail. Legal notices were run in the Sanford Herald, and I posted a sign on the property. I received no inquiries.
I could follow up on that question that Commissioner Reeves asked. When I looked at that list of people, I wondered if it was, if in the future, we might be able to, you could share the listed phone numbers with the commissioners in case they wanted to. I don't know, but if we could just kind of look into that in the
Phone
future.
numbers are not a matter of public record, so I don't have that information.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Motion to approve the rezoning.
Well, this is a public hearing.
Public hearing.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, it just simply makes sense. They need to rush
Yes.
on the construction.
Yes.
And then unfortunately, and the next item on the UDO text amendment will help, but it takes time, so.
We're going to open the public hearing on this. Public hearing is open. We don't have anybody signed up, but if anybody would like to speak, you are welcome. I'm going to close the public hearing. All right, the next item on the agenda is Thomas. Thank you.
There we go. Hello and good evening again. I do have a PowerPoint for this one as well that would, I think, be useful. Amy did steal my thunder in mentioning this text amendment, though. This item is on page 544 of your packet. This is a fairly straightforward text amendment requested by planning staff to change the permitted use matrix found in Article 4 of the UDO to allow the land use that is identified as, quote, fire, sheriff, and emergency services to be permitted in all zoning districts by right. This is primarily stemming from the case that was just before you, but also several other fire departments, rural volunteer fire departments in the county that are responding to increased residential growth and their increased service demands and have needed to add fire apparatus bays or other additions onto their building. If you see the PowerPoint there, you see right there, that's just the straightforward rezoning. I have notes here, but I can just kind of wing it. I don't need to read what I wrote. If you see right here in the old version of the UDO and in the new version that you just approved, I included both just because I wasn't sure how tonight would go. You see in both, the S's are included along the residential zoning districts and neighborhood commercial there. It is proposed to change those S's to P's. The special use permit will be required for any fire, sheriff, or emergency services facility that would be proposed or expanded in any residential zoning district. The change is, of course, to allow them by right, just so it assuages some of your concerns, especially out in rural parts of the county. If this were changed, you wouldn't have to worry about that uncertainty of what comes next, right? It would still remain residentially zoned. It's just that the fire department would not have to change their zoning district. They would not have to either obtain a special use permit or amend their special use permit through a quasi-judicial process to add a fire apparatus bay or add, an additional meeting room or something like that. Just to give a little bit more context, throughout the county, there are numerous fire stations, both rural volunteer ones and city paid fire stations that are currently zoned residential to one degree or another. So this would have impacts for all of them. Dare I say, beneficial impacts in that they would not have to go through a lengthy TRC process. They would not have to hire an attorney, which is always a good idea when you're going through a quasi-judicial process. And they would be able to expand or add to their fire stations by right. They wouldn't have to go through those public hearing processes. So a question that frequently comes up, though, is how do other counties approach this? And I did some research as well. Moore County, you can see government facility, which is the only thing I could find that would be close to, police, fire, or EMS, allows that land use by right in all jurisdictions except for the multifamily conditional zoning and the planned development conditional zoning district, which are inherently conditional zoning districts. You have to go through a site plan specific process for those two zoning districts. Cumberland County, again, P is across the board except for their conservation district, which only allows fish hatcheries. So I'm going to assume that is a agricultural zoning district. Harnett County, I can't see, but as you see, P is across the board except for their one conservation zoning district. And then Hope County, they don't allow government buildings and facilities in R20 or R15, but they do allow them in the larger lot, more rural areas. And of course, it's permitted by right from RMH all the way across as well. And then lastly, Randolph County allows fire, sheriff, and emergency services across the board as well, regardless of zoning district by right. So it is not out of the mainstream to potentially have this change if this board would like. And I will stop there for any questions you might have.
Questions?
I think my only question is, and I would just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly, is if this special zoning was allowed, if anything were to change future and it was no longer a fire station or whatever, it would still remain whatever zoning quadrant.
That is correct.
Correct? Okay.
That's correct.
So like the placeholder is still there, it's just these entities have an ability to use it above what is.
That's correct. Most residential zoning districts allow only or mostly residential land uses, right? But they typically also allow some civic uses, parks, churches, bed and breakfast, things like that, things that are still kind of harmonious in a residential setting. Fire, sheriff, and emergency services, just by their very nature, you do need them even in kind of far-flung rural areas. This would allow those to be permitted by right at whatever site they already exist at, or if they need a new satellite fire station, which I think Deep River has, and I know in Moore County, I was the 911 dispatcher for Moore County, they have satellite fire stations down there too. It would allow them to be built as well without going through any additional review processes, no special use permit hearing, no hiring of consultants or an attorney or something like that. Say that one more.
Sorry, they would need to own the land?
That's correct,
Right?
yeah.
Okay.
I would imagine they would want to secure the property
It's
first.
not like an eminent domain type
That's
thing?
correct, yeah.
Okay.
That's a whole other
Right, they need
conversation.
to own the land before, and then they are allowed this special use permit?
That's correct. And if
Okay.
the fire station went away for whatever reason, it would still remain R20 or RA or what have you, and then only those other land uses would be allowed. So residential, farms, whatever it might be, so.
That's not the case with the thing we heard prior, correct?
That's correct. Well, that's a slightly different issue with Amy's rezoning case, because even if this were passed, they have a setback issue. RA's front setback is 30 feet. They have a building that encroaches to about 24 feet away, so they need to change the zoning to fix that. But the O and I rezoning also, it kills two birds with one stone. It addresses their setback issue, and O and I allows for fire stations by right, so they wouldn't have to get a
But
special.
if the fire station goes away, then what?
Then it could, that's why we recommended O and I, because it's the least intensive commercial use. So it could be, as Amy said, like a florist shop potentially, but not like a shopping center or a car dealership or things like that.
You can't give a special use if it changes to revert back? Like if it's a fire station and a special use to be with, have those limitations be less? And then if it was ever reverted back, it goes back to the old?
Sure. So I've had this come up before in the past too. So the special use permit process has specific approval criteria set forth by the state. One of those criteria is that the proposal must meet or exceed all the standards of the ordinance. I have had people try to ask for variances, which is like, let me change or modify the provisions of the UDO to allow for this particular use, but that inherently means that it doesn't meet the standards of the ordinance, so it kind of nullifies the special use permit process. So to answer your question, having a special use permit allowable for that site, if it doesn't meet setbacks, that special use permit theoretically cannot be approved because it doesn't meet all the standards. It doesn't satisfy all the approval requirements set forth by the state.
Thank you.
I know that's super convoluted, but that's what happens when lawyers get involved. No offense, Whitney.
Other questions for Thomas? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are going to open the public hearing. The public hearing on the UDO text amendment is now open. I did not have anybody sign up for this. Is anybody eager to speak? I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. The planning board, thank you. You've sat here and sat here, thank you. Please leave and come back with some advice for us.
Does that O and I zoning make it easier for the adjoining property owner to request O and I? That would be my concern about doing it.
Yeah, because they want to come today.
Special use would have been better.
You're still in public hearing. Thank you for your patience. We are moving to 5C, Project Soul. I believe, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the commission, and staff. The subject of tonight's public hearing, I'm Jimmy Randolph, 3405 Windmere Drive in Sanford. Madam Attorney has asked me to introduce this topic for the pleasure of the public hearing tonight. The subject of tonight's public hearing is a proposed performance-based economic development cash incentive grant for Project Soul. Project Soul is a healthcare company that's considering a site in Lee County for a facility which will engage in manufacturing, distribution, and research and development activities. Once the project's final site is selected, Project Soul plans to purchase land, build a new facility, and equip it with machinery and equipment with a total net new capital and investment of at least $600 million. Project Soul anticipates creating at least 335 new full-time benefited jobs with an average annual wage of $71,132, which is about 15% higher than Lee County's current average wage of $59,900. Project Soul is strongly aligned with Saga's targeted recruiting sectors of pharmaceutical and advanced manufacturing, and a project of this magnitude and potential positive impact is highly competitive, with strong competition from other communities around the state and the country. Saga staff have been working with our partners at the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and the North Carolina Biotechnology Center since last year to validate this project's ability to thrive long-term alongside Lee County's diverse existing manufacturing employers. Among the most compelling factors in our community's favor are our proven, highly experienced talent pool in advanced manufacturing, CCCC's customized and highly responsive training programs, including BioWork and the Moore Center's Biotech Solutions Center, our proximity to the world-class Tier 1 research universities in the heart of the Triangle, a strategic location and ready sites with a competitive cost of doing business. We're cautiously optimistic that a competitive local incentive offer, coupled with strong support from our partners at the state level, along with all the other factors in our favor, will be compelling enough to convince the project to locate in Lee County. To that end, Saga's Executive Committee recommends offering the project a performance-based economic development incentive for a term of 7 years based on a percentage amount equivalent to 70% of the ad valorem taxes paid by the company each year. Based on the project's proposed new capital investment of at least $600 million, the anticipated amount of incentives would be approximately $12,915,175 total over the 7-year term of the agreement, provided that the company meets all the investment, wage, and job creation requirements of the agreement. Your strong commitment to a strategic economic development program has resulted in decisions by companies like Bharat Forge, Astellas Gene Therapies, and most recently Kyowa Kirin to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in Lee County and create hundreds of good-paying jobs for the benefit of our residents. Should Project Soul choose to locate in Lee County, its proposed new capital investment will exceed that of any single project we've recruited before, further stimulating and stabilizing the local economy, promoting additional business activity, adding substantially to the tax base, and resulting in the creation of hundreds of new permanent jobs in the county. Thank you for your consideration of this proposal tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Randolph. Questions for Mr. Randolph from the board?
I do have one question. I know you mentioned CCCC's partnership with technological advances and the types of industries that are trying to locate here. What have you received any feedback from CCCC in this project in particular?
Yes, CCCC has been present for all of our site visits with company representatives. They are a critical part of the presentation around the community's capacity to meet the workforce needs for the company. They have, and I would just say they were a critical part of the communication on behalf of the community for Kyowa Kirin as well. Mm-hmm. The resource that we have in CCCC, particularly the BioWork program, that provides folks who are in our existing industry with an opportunity to move into the space in healthcare or pharma with the BioWork program. which is going to be further strengthened as they open the biotech solutions portion of the Moore Center, is a critical part of the package that companies consider when they're thinking about locating here.
And they feel that the workforce demand will be able to fulfill those seats that they need as far as a project timeline goes. And, well, that's part one of my question, yeah.
Yes, that is a critical part of the equation for them, and it's still under consideration. But the feedback we've gotten so far is that they do believe that we have that ability as a community.
Okay. And is there a multi-step, remind me again, is there a multi-step to this project as far as the buildings go or anything along those lines?
The information provided in the overview that I gave and that was in the public hearing is what they've committed to at this point.
Okay.
This is the extent of what they've committed to at this point.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Randolph from the board?
Madam Chair. Yes, Mr. Randolph, I do have some questions. Do you have a non-disclosure agreement with this company?
Yes, sir.
What are you hiding? Why do you have it?
The company, and as is the case really with all of our projects.
I know.
Has
For the public.
Right, proprietary information related that related to the successful operation of their business, and there is a wide array of categories of information that are protected for a variety of business reasons. What I would say is, as we go through a process like this, once the decision is made, where the company will go, that information becomes public, and we are generally released from the requirements of the non-disclosure agreement. In some cases, that is not true. In some cases, we are provided with information that will allow us to make decisions about whether or not this company is a good fit for our community and the capacity of our utilities to meet their needs, that are proprietary trade secrets of the organization that we're dealing with that we'll never be at liberty to release. But for the most part, the general information about obviously who the company is and what they do becomes public once a location decision is made.
Do we understand what their energy and natural resources, water, electricity, natural gas, is going to be required?
Yes, sir. That's a critical part of their decision-making process. They would be, we would not feel very good about engaging in a conversation with an organization that didn't ask extremely detailed questions about our community's capacity to meet their needs in all of the major utility categories.
Do we know the hazardous waste stream of this particular company?
We do.
We'll be able to handle it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Randolph? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we will now open the public hearing for Project Soul. Public hearing is now open. Do not have anybody signed up, but if you would like to speak on Project Soul, you are welcome to the podium. I'm going to close the public hearing on Project Soul. It's closed. The next item is public hearing 5 Del D, new school bus garage facility public hearing. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Commissioners and staff. I'm here to present to you the new school bus garage limited obligation bonds. We are at the beginning step to start the debt issuance process, and in order to do that, we need to do this public hearing. Just to give you a little context, you guys approved this project in the CIP in FY26, which was May of '25. To date, we have worked closely with the schools and different partners, including Davenport, our financial advisors. And with discussions with them, we've decided to pursue a public bond issuance. And we would love to open up this public hearing to get any support or grievances that anybody may have, and I'll stand by for any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the board?
Well, I guess I'll go ahead and ask. Is this a typical issuance?
Yes,
like
ma'am.
for something? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We are going to go ahead and open the public hearing for the new school bus garage facility. The public hearing is now open. Again, we do not have anybody signed up, but if you would like to speak about the bus garage financing, please come forward. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Thank you. Next, we will move to item, oh, I misspoke. You're next. Next, we'll move to item number 7 under old business, 7A, the resolution regarding the school bus garage limited obligation bond series 2026 financing. Ms. Waterhouse.
You got no break from me. So this is the resolution. So this is the second step in the process that must take place in order for us to start this limited obligation bond series 2026. This allows the preliminary findings resolution, authorizes the filing of an application with the local government commission for the approval of bonds and trust agreement. It is important to note, though, that because we're doing both in the same night, that the board please waive its policy to take action the same night as the public hearing.
Madam Chair, I move to waive the policy to take action the same night as the public hearing, simply because this is desperately needed and we need to move forward.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So would anyone like to put forth a motion to approve the resolution?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the resolution presented regarding the school bus garage facility funding.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 7B, the General Services Expansion Project Construction.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, and staff. I'm Brandon Key with Lee County. This agenda item is for the General Service Expansion Project, and we're seeking 2 board approvals with this item. The first one is a budget amendment to approve additional funds. Then, if approved, approve the bid tab to allow Lee County government to accept lowest responsive bid submission from Sanford contractors in the amount of $1,250,672. I'd like to provide a brief background information on the project, and then Mrs. Jen Waterhouse will provide the financial details around the budget amendment. General Services' current facility was built in 1994. It's around 5,900 square feet. The CIP project 2025-2029 was approved for this project for a total budget of $1,041,000. The current project increases space at General Services with 8 additional offices, a conference room, kitchenette, copy area, and a small lobby. The total square foot increase is 2,353 square feet. The building design was completed by Mosley Architects and was posted for public bid on May 6, 2026, and closed on June 16, 2026. Lee County received 7 bid submissions, and Sanford Contractors was the lowest responsible bidder. After receiving the bids, the entire project was reevaluated with staff and updated cost numbers, and the new project budget needed is $1,604,245. We've had several conversations with the architect during design to look at reducing the cost, reducing the scope. However, we're still above our CIP approved budget, and I'd like to turn over to Ms. Waterhouse now.
As Brandon mentioned, we are needing additional funds in the amount of $563,245. Upon analysis of where our available funds might be, my recommendation was to distribute $479,000 of fund balance and appropriate $84,245 of unused ARPA interest. But I do want to clarify that while it is fund balance, it's actually money that was saved from fiscal year '26 under the general services line. So they did their due diligence in saving money from the prior year. So it's money saved, but that falls into fund balance at year end. So while it shows fund balance, it's actually money that we saved from prior year.
Move to approve.
You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion?
Was there ever a thought to go back out to bid?
Because we received, do you remember how many we received, Brandon? We received
7 bids, and based on our cost estimate, it was a little lower than our cost estimate, so we knew.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We received 7 bids, and based on our cost estimate, the bids came in right at or a little below our cost estimate, so we knew the construction was going to be high.
So what caused the increase?
Time, and just the environment. We compared the cost to this library, and the cost per square foot is in line with this construction project here. So commercial construction cost.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Okay, the motion has been made.
I do want to
We
mention
have-
that we have two
Yes.
approvement, or two
Shall we
motions
vote
here.
on one at a time?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you.
Yep.
The motion has been made. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Please
And
go
that's
ahead.
for
Madam
both,
Chair, I
right?
move to approve the bid submission from Sanford Contractors in the amount of $1,250,672.
And you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
And Madam Chair, could I just say, Ms. Waterhouse, thank you for clarifying that that portion of the fund balance is dedicated to this project, and we have many other aspects of the fund balance that covers that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The next item, item number 7, I'm sorry,
Chair, I would move that we table this matter.
on Project Soul?
Beg your pardon?
Project Soul? Would you like to?
No, I'm sorry. I was looking
Okay.
at the next one on my sheet.
I'm sorry. One moment, please. All right, the next item on the agenda is 7C, a vote on Project Soul. Please go ahead.
I'll briefly go over that. As you heard from Mr. Randolph, what the project consists of. So as he indicated, the amount of the grant each year will be 70% of the ad valorem taxes paid by the company. And county anticipates that the amount of cash incentives will be $12,915,175. No, wait. See, no. $12,915,175, which may be more or less depending on the company's new taxable investment. However, no payment will be made above the stated percentages. So based off the information that we have been provided, I did attach a resolution approving the incentive package this evening that's attached on the agenda. I also attached this afternoon an agreement for Project Soul is printed at your seats as well. The agreement, of course, just has the project's name in there and the exhibit for investment and jobs. We're asking if the board just votes to move forward tonight and to approve it, that we are given the option to change out the company's name once it's been announced, make any non-material changes to the agreement, and the chair would be authorized to sign that agreement. I'm here to answer questions in terms of the agreement. Mr. Randolph can answer questions further. I do believe he is asking for a vote this evening, and if you have questions in regard to that, please direct those. Mr. Randolph can answer it. Otherwise, if you're willing and ready to make a motion to address this, we would ask that you make a motion to waive your policy on not voting the same night as a public hearing.
Madam Chair, in light of the fact that this is just the only meeting we have this month, I'm moving to waive the board's policy on not voting on a matter on the same night as a public hearing.
You've heard the motion to waive the policy so that we can vote tonight on Project Soul. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Madam Chair, I move to vote to approve the attached resolution approving the cash grant incentive to Project Soul and to allow staff to insert the name of the company once announced and authorize the chair to sign the agreement with only non-material changes to the agreement.
May I ask 2 questions before we?
You may. Yes, yes.
Okay. Sorry. So just a reiteration of incentives. They have to meet a certain set of rules or thresholds, correct? It still applies with this one.
Could we ask Mr. Randolph to come forward and answer that question?
Absolutely. The performance-based nature of these grants, the company would commit through the agreement that you have a copy of to invest a certain amount of capital, new taxable capital investment in the community, and create a certain number of jobs, which is detailed again in the agreement, as well as pay a stated average wage. And all of that is captured in the agreement, I believe.
It's create and maintain, correct?
That's absolutely, that's right.
And it is, and I know in the previous, and I'm going to speak, so forgive me on not remembering exactly correctly, but is it a all or none incentive, like they've checked all 3 or 4 boxes and they get the incentive, or is it they get 2 of them and they get maybe 30% of the 70%?
So the way they are usually done is the first thing we check is the amount of investment that is made, and we figured based on that the percentage. So if they're supposed to get 70%, but they only made 90% of the investment, then that incentive is reduced to reflect only the 90. So they're only going to get 70% of the taxes paid. So they're only going to pay taxes on what they invest. So therefore, they would get that 70%. Then we're going to check the jobs and the wages. If they don't meet that, then that 70% amount is reduced to reflect the fact that they didn't meet the appropriate jobs or the salary range.
And out of our, and Mr. Randolph, you may not know this one, out of our incentive packages that we have offered and have been placed, are all 100% currently obtaining those incentives?
That's a good question, and I don't know for sure the status of all of the incentives that we've placed, but certainly the
I'm trying to help.
Yeah, I'm
Remember,
looking
there
at
are a
staff
few
because-
incentives deals that we made that never transpired. Either the company, so we've had one that I can remember for sure that the company knew they were not meeting their employment numbers, so they never sent in any information to request even on the property, even though they could have gotten a proportionate share. They never turned it in.
They still came to Sanford and still located within the county?
Yes, or they expanded, so I don't know. And obviously, if they don't end up coming, they don't get it. They have to make the investment, they have to pay their taxes before there's any incentive in this case.
Thank you.
I think the clarifying, if I might, what's also helpful for people who are just listening and trying to understand that, which was myself just a few years ago, right, is that the company is paying the taxes, am I correct, county manager, and then they are receiving a partial incentive on that tax. So they are still paying taxes for the years. And could you just remind us of the year 2 of the taxes that they will be paying? Like, do you have those numbers with you?
I do. So based on the information that's provided and the projected investment at this point, your question was in year 2 of the incentive? Just pick a
Yes,
year?
yes.
Yeah. Based on this is also a part of the record.
Yes.
Is the investment schedule.
Yes.
Is in there. But based on that, in year 2, they would have invested I'm just going to give you the tax on what they
That's all I'm looking for.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yep. So the total taxes paid in year 2 would be $1,872,000, and they would be receiving an incentive of $1,310,000. So the net of that is somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000 in year two. That will pretty rapidly progress to more than $3.5 million in
Correct.
taxes
Yes.
paid.
That's definitely what I want to hear. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion? Do we have a motion to, the motion is on the table. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 7D, the rezoning of the Pocket Volunteer Fire Department. But
I have Ms. McNeil's back, and I passed out the recommendations from the planning board
thank you.
for you to use in your motions.
While Ms. Parrish is handing that out, earlier this evening, a joint public hearing was held with the planning board regarding a rezoning request by the Northwest Pocket Volunteer Fire Department to rezone a 2-acre tract of land developed as the Northwest Pocket Volunteer Fire Department substation on Blackstone Road from residential agricultural to office and institutional to allow a proposed building addition. At this time, the commissioners will consider the planning board recommendation and vote on this request. You will have to acknowledge whether or not you have a conflict of interest, and it sounds like you may need to waive your policy on holding a public hearing and voting on an item the same evening. Once again, a reminder of the conflict of interest. A commissioner shall not vote on any zoning map amendment if the applicant or landowner is a person with whom the commissioner has a close familiar business or other associational relationship. And typically, each board member acknowledges whether or not they have a conflict of interest for the record before I verbally give you the planning board recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a conflict of interest of anyone on this board? No. You can please move forward.
Would you need to vote on waiving your policy regarding holding a public hearing and voting on an
Do
item
we
the
have a
same evening?
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to waive our policy to vote on the same evening as public hearing.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right. The commissioners should make 2 votes regarding this matter. Sample motions are provided for your reference. However, you're always welcome to draft a unique motion, and you may acknowledge that the zoning map amendment is not consistent with the Plan San Lee Land Use Plan and still vote to approve the request. I've taken the liberty of highlighting the motions that the planning board members approved. They made a motion that the proposed zoning map amendment is not consistent with the Plan San Lee Land Use designation of countryside because the place type is not supportive of commercial zoning or commercial land uses. But they did choose motion option 1 with regard to rezoning, and they recommended the commissioners approve the zoning map amendment because it's reasonable and in the public interest, given it would allow the expansion of an existing volunteer fire station. You may choose whatever options you like or choose to draft your own unique motions.
Is there a motion to approve the statement on consistency with Plan San Lee as it relates to the zoning amendment?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the proposed zoning map amendment is not consistent with the Plan San Lee land use designation of countryside because this place type is not supportive of commercial zoning or commercial land uses.
You've heard the motion. Is there any discussion?
My only question I just want to, sorry, Commissioner Smith, is I just want the public to know how we got this at our seat. The planning board is met, and they were
Yes.
given options, and they were quick on, or not quick, that's probably a poor choice of words, but they discussed it and then brought this to us.
Yes, ma'am. I was told that you would receive the vote this evening, which is not the norm. So I prepared this so that I could highlight the motions that the planning board selected if they chose my sample motions. If they had drafted a unique motion, I would have simply handwritten it for you. But I wanted to provide this information to you so you can make your decision based on the planning board recommendation.
Do you know of any conflict that they had addressed that was not brought up?
They didn't. They had very little discussion. They thought it was very simple. They understood that this project could not move forward without this rezoning approval.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And if I can add a note, Madam Chair, we do have one meeting this month, and that's why we're moving forward.
Yes, yes, thank you. All right, we've heard the motion. It's option 2. Is not consistent with Plan San Lee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I have a motion to approve or deny the zoning map amendment.
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that the Board of Commissioners approve the proposed zoning map amendment from residential agricultural to office institutional because it is reasonable and in the public interest, given that it would allow the expansion of an existing volunteer fire station.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Amy, before you leave.
Yes, sir.
What I was asking you, meant to ask you earlier, with this zoning approval, does that improve
Mr. Reeves, could you
the
speak?
adjoining property owner? Should they have an interest in asking for the same rezoning?
It does not include the adjoining property owners. It only includes the property owned by the fire department. If the neighbors wanted to rezone their land, they'd have to go through the public hearing process also. But it's possible they could say, well, you already rezoned the land next door to O&I, so they're interested as well. Might make a little less sense for a residential homeowner to ask to rezone than it would for a fire station, though.
I understand.
Thank you.
It does make it easier.
That is, we are now moving into item 8, new business. 8B is a payroll deduction for nonprofits that I brought forth. I think we have a motion to table this, am I correct?
I've cleaned my glasses and now I know where you are.
Yes, sir.
Offer a motion to table for further discussion.
Yes, let's do that. Any discussion on that motion? Let me do this first. The motion has been put forth to table. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any discussion?
I would say my only comment is just make sure that whatever, I mean, I know I've wanted to table stuff for certain reasons, whatever reasons those are, just being, they're being addressed.
Yes, thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. Next is manager's report.
May I start?
Did I do that backwards?
It's under the manager's report, but.
Please.
So, okay, sorry. So before you, you have the June 26th monthly financial report and the April sales tax reports. At the end of June, revenues were at 101.28% of the ad valorem budget. I do want to make note that these are not final numbers for the fiscal year, June 30th of 26, because we will be booking receivables and payables out throughout until about mid-August. So you will get the final presentation right around the same time that you'll get the audit presentation, okay? During the...
Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Just say that again for me.
Okay, so right now, we are still receiving revenues, and we are paying invoices against prior year. We're allowed to do that through mid-August, so this is not a good representation of what our expenditures and our true revenues are.
Understood, thank you.
So that won't be presented until roughly November, December timeframe, when we close up our audit. And our sales tax for April showed or reflected a growth of 10.04%. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Any questions from the board?
Keep shopping local.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
County manager's monthly report for July.
So on the library project, the contractor is working through closeout punch list and rework items. Landscape rework is still in process and expected to wrap up by mid-July, which includes the fire lane reworked and removing dead planting. Plantings will be replaced by the landscaper next planting season. Potential change orders or modifications to the scope of work that are identified through the course of construction that are required to complete and close out the project. All expenses to date are covered within GMP, are the guaranteed maximum price, and the current purchase order issued to the construction manager at risk. The PCOs that you see there, the potential change orders, are listed there for your review. Parking capacity issues have been noted at the library, and staff are investigating potential solutions. Next steps will be to engage the engineer to discuss design options for additional parking. On the historic courthouse project, parking lot repairs are being scheduled in coordination with an asphalt contractor. We expect this work to be completed later in July. The foundation brownstone is showing a white film, which is a reaction from a stone strengthener that was applied during the grant project at the direction of the State Historic Preservation Office. Staff is working with the Historic Conservation Company for an on-site visit and field test to identify root cause and possible remediation options. As you know, we dealt with the general services expansion this evening. The Coke warehouse renovation, aside from serving the needs of public safety storage for the Sheriff, Emergency Management, and Fire Marshal's office, the primary goal of this project is to renovate office space to accommodate Colts and Veteran Services operations. Feasibility study is being done by Summit Design. They have provided a summary to Lee County on June 26. Staff is in the process of reviewing the building assessments recommendations and has submitted some additional questions before preparing a recommendation scope of work for renovations. The next phase of the work with Summit Design will be the architectural design for space to be renovated. Additional work that we're looking at is the fire sprinkler system. The bid package was posted on the Lee County website. The bid start date was June 22nd and closes tomorrow, and they had a pre-bid on July 7th. A couple other things before I go to meetings. At your spot, you should have found a North Carolina General Assembly page that headed up that's tracking legislation. We gave you a hard copy. We hope to have this actually in your agenda package from now on, where you will have live links to the various bills that are being talked about. There are several things of high interest to us here. I will tell you that in the state budget that was adopted, we did not receive any money for SNAP administration. We did receive some additional money for Medicaid expansion. I think around $91,000 or $291,000. $226,000 that we were not expecting. There is one major thing that concerned me when we saw the budget, and that's on how the state plans to fund the benefit cost if the state has to end up paying benefit costs because of the error rate. They will be taking part of our sales tax revenues to be able to do that beginning October 1st, 2027, if things do not change. All counties will have 0.75% of their sales tax taken, and then there is an additional amount that will be added based on the error rate and the total dollars and everything. So I cannot tell you the exact numbers, obviously, because we will have to get closer to October 1st to know that. But I will also caution you that this will impact our funding available for school debt service, because if they take part of our Articles 40 and 42, those are two the pieces of the sales tax that have restrictions for our use to school capital outlay or debt service, I'm sorry. So that does cause me concern. We will be continuing to monitor this and review information that comes from the association and other organizations to keep you abreast of that. But we'll be keeping this updated. There are some other bills still outstanding that we do have some concerns about that have not been passed yet. So if you have any questions on any of that, you can reach out to myself or Ben on my staff. Those two things. The other thing, before I get to dates, I would like to recognize Ben McQuarrie, our budget analyst. He has, effective last week, received his Certified Local Government Budget Officer certification. So I want to congratulate Ben for his hard work in passing those exams and reaching that milestone. So congratulations, Ben. So just so you know, upcoming meetings, August 17th is our next regular board meeting, and that will be here. Then September 7th, we are closed for Labor Day, and then we'll have another meeting on September 21st, and then we'll return to our normal schedule in October. I'll be glad to answer any questions the board may have.
Any questions for the county manager? Have we, will we be discussing the upcoming year as far as work sessions? Can you just update me on where we're at with that?
I figured we would have that discussion in either October or September.
Thank you.
What the board wants to do.
Thank you. Any other questions for the county manager? Then we will move into commissioner comments. Commissioner Reeves, any comments?
Let me go last.
Yes, sir.
I need to finish.
Yes, sir.
form.
Commissioner Smith?
No comments. Please drive safely, wear your seatbelts, no speeding.
Commissioner Levick?
No comments tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Connect?
With the heat, just check on your elderly neighbors, make sure they're okay. Thank you.
Good idea. Commissioner Warbeck?
Yes, I do, and I actually, because I tend to let emotions cloud my line of communication I apologize, I'm going to read. But good evening, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners, county manager, county staff, and citizens of Lee County. Tonight, I have the difficult task of sharing I'm formally resigning from my position as a Lee County Commissioner, effective July 13th, 2026. My resignation will be submitted to the appropriate officials at the conclusion of this meeting. This decision has come only after much prayer, thoughtful reflection, and many conversations with my family. It's not been made quickly, nor has it been made lightly.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Serving as your commissioner has been one of the greatest honors of my life because I respect this office and people it serves so deeply. I wanted you to hear this directly from me. To my fellow commissioners, thank you. We have not always agreed, but I've always respected the time commitment and care each of you have devoted to serving the people of Lee County. Public service is not always easy, and I appreciate the opportunity to have worked alongside each of you. To our county manager, county staff, department heads, first responders, and every employee who serves this county each day, thank you for your professionalism, your dedication, and your willingness to help me better understand the many responsibilities of county government. Thank you. So much of what happens in this county is because of your hard work, often behind the scenes and without any or little recognition. And to the citizens of Lee County, thank you. Thank you for placing your trust in me and allowing me the privilege of representing you. I have not taken that responsibility lightly. When I took the oath of office, I committed to serving you with integrity, transparency, and genuine desire to leave our community stronger than I found it. Every vote I cast and every decision I made was guided by what I sincerely believed was in the best interest of Lee County and its future. Because I believe so deeply in that responsibility, I also believe it's important to recognize when circumstances have changed. After much prayer and careful consideration, I've concluded that stepping aside is the right decision for my family and for this office. I believe the citizens of Lee County deserve a commissioner who can fully devote themselves to serving this county through the remainder of their term. And I believe it's appropriate time for me to allow someone else to carry that responsibility forward. To those who supported me, challenged me, encouraged me, and even those who disagreed with me, thank you. I genuinely valued those conversations because they reflect a community that cares deeply about its future. Healthy communities are built by engaged citizens, as we saw today, and Lee County is blessed with many people who love this place and want the very best for it. Although this chapter is coming to a close, my commitment to public service is not. I firmly believe that leadership is not defined by a title or an elected office, but by the way we choose to serve others each day. Though my title may change, my desire to serve others never will. Lee County will always hold a special place in my heart, and I have every confidence that its best days are still ahead. I will continue to cheer for its success, pray for its leaders, and be grateful for the opportunity you gave me to serve. Finally, I want to thank my husband, Nate, and our children for the sacrifices they made throughout this journey. Public service is never carried by one person alone, and I could not have done it without their love and support. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, everyone, for your trust, your encouragement, your grace, and the incredible privilege of serving as your county commissioner. May God continue to bless each of you, and may God continue to bless Lee County. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Great.
Way to follow that, Commissioner.
I'm about to cry now.
Yeah. Well, could I just jump in here also and say,
It's been a pleasure for me serving with you, I'll tell you that.
Thank you. As well.
You are truly a dedicated person to the seat. We have been blessed by having you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank your family. Yeah, I wanted to make one comment. it was clear to me this evening with the public comments being made that quite a few people don't understand the full process of how things go in terms of when the decision is finally up to us and when. There was a gentleman asking a question tonight about what we knew and when we knew and all that.
Could you just move this closer to you? Because I want the public to be able to hear you well on recording.
I beg your pardon?
Move this a little closer to you. I'm sorry. Thank you.
I didn't know I was going to have to move.
It's perfect, thank you.
Anyway, yes, I'm sorry. No, I just feel that we may need to step back a moment and try and clear some of the processes that we're engaged in. Some folks seem to think that we're on the front end of everything and that there's no process to be followed. There was no way you were able to answer one of the questions I heard posed to you tonight, and this board couldn't answer the question because the process has not been completed. And that's unfortunate, but I don't expect the average person to know all the things that we have to wait for and go through before we make decisions. But I do feel sometimes we are unfairly blamed for things that are not in our purview. We just don't have the control that people might think. That's something I think the board needs to work on moving forward, either before or during a meeting, to let them know exactly what the steps are before it gets to us. And as for this young lady departing us, I truly will personally miss you. I have enjoyed serving with you. You have been an inspiration. I've had a hard time following you sometimes, keeping up with you and going back and forth. But it has kept me awake and attentive and careful to pay attention to what I'm voting for or against. And I thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'd also like to address Commissioner Vorbeck.
You don't have to.
It's been I've learned a lot just listening to your questions. So thank you for slowing things down and for asking questions and for just initiating discussion. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I will really miss you. Thank you. Commissioner Reeves brought up the possibility of, or the request really, that the board address some of the, and I don't want to misspeak, so correct me if I'm off here, Commissioner Reeves, but that the board address more clearly with the public the process and the status of where we're at. I agree with that, and however we need to move forward with that, we can put it to discussion. I want to thank the county manager for working to look again at Plan San Lee and sort of figure out how we're going to address that, right? Go ahead.
I have reached out to Marshall, and we have failed to reconnect since we've left telephone messages, but we will sit down and see where we are and what that process is, and I will have something to come back to the board with and update you on either through the meeting or talking with the chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think that this is just an example of all the work that goes on behind the scenes before we sit here for a few hours and run through an agenda. There's all these discussions that are going on and work that's going on to prepare. So I just wanted to thank you for that publicly. And thank the public for coming out, all of the different people that came and sat for a long time and just shared your thoughts. It's informative and it's helpful to hear your research, to hear about infrasound and all the different, it's helpful. So know that we are considering your words, and thank you for being in an active part of the government process. That's all I have. Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Is up. All those, there it is. All those in favor? Aye. The commissioner meeting is closed. Thank you.